All right, welcome everybody. We're trying to get things going here. You can tell I moved some things around. So that's the wrong one. Let's get a little closer. There we go. That's a little better. Weird sound. What's a weird sound? Now, I know that you can categorize what I'm saying in many ways, but a weird sound, I guess maybe that is a good categorization. Now that I think about it, yes, it's a weird sound. I'm definitely so. Yep, that's we're in pretty good shape here. We're trying to get things going. We'll be starting the live stream in about 7 minutes. Until then, you're looking at the back of my head. When we get started on this, you'll be able to actually see me, so that's good. One of the problems, though, is I've got this monitor that I use. You can tell this screen's a little bit different. Normally, actually, I put a new camera in place, so really, it's this view. This is a little better view of my world, and it's a new camera. But I've got a new tripod that's right in front of me. You can probably see the stick that's going up. That's sort of right in the middle of that television monitor that's behind me. And I use that television monitor as my view of the video switcher. So it's now right in the middle of the screen. So I've got to work on something else for having my video switcher there. I don't know. We got things to change. I'm now moving things around. There's new cameras in the back. This is a new camera you're seeing me on that looks a little different. Not really that different, though. There's new cameras that will be going in front of me shortly, I hope. It's very hard when you start swapping things out. You start changing things around. Things that have just been working so well up to this point. So, of course, I have to change it. Why would we think otherwise? Let's make a configuration change. See, I've made changes to the online displays. Let's see. What did I do with this one? Let's look at preferences. I can't see. Change this. There we go. All right. And let's see if that's going to work for us. I think it will. It does. I love it. Well, welcome, everyone. Let's see how things are going. South Africa is here. Texas. Cameroon is here. Welcome. Very early on, Baltimore is here, the first city in the United States that had an umbrella factory. So there you go. Oklahoma checked in. We've got California is here. South Carolina, Pennsylvania. PA. Is there an echo? I'm not the only one hearing an echo. If there is, let's listen in, because if there is an echo, I'll have to change a few things. Let's see what the live stream sounds like. And if it is echoey, I will make some changes. Let's listen in and see how I'm talking, everyone. Here we go with the live stream. See how I'm talking, everyone. Here we go with the live stream. No, that sounds great. That sounds fantastic. There is not an echo. So you may want to check and see if perhaps there's two streams running on your system, because it sounds great. So happy with that. It's a new streaming server. I've changed so much now in the last month, the last 2 weeks. So this might be great. This might be a fantastic study group, or maybe it will not work out so well. We'll see. Oceanside is here. Welcome. Egypt is here. Virginia. Welcome. Ohio. Welcome, Ohio. My friends in Dublin, Ohio. St. Louis, Mo. Got to figure out which Mo is checking in. We've got a lot to go through today. It's all 1001 A+ today. It's all the 220 1001 A+. So if you're here for that first A+ exam, you are in the right place. All right. Oh, we've got all questions and answers. They're all online, professormesser.com/QA. Let's see. I didn't get the iPad going. Let's get the iPad going here. I've got things to plug into that. Let's see if I can get... That's the wrong shot. That's not what I want. No, put that back down here. There we go. Very nice. I want that one. How can you earn a CEU? I'll explain somewhere in the first hour how you can earn a CEU for watching this So absolutely, you'll be able to do that. We're done here. Done there. No, I don't want any of this. Go back. That's what we want. Very nice. Welcome. Now, I'm watching all of the chat go by. There's a live event chat. If you're in the live event chat room, that's the one I'll be watching for live stream. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll want to go to professormesser.com/live. That's where the chat is. There's no YouTube chat there. I can only look at one thing at a time. I can only look at 7 things at a time, apparently. Can't do 8. So that's where that's coming from. We've got, what else? We got a couple minutes, 1 minute and 10 seconds. Okay, Canada's here. Welcome, Canada. I just booked a trip to Canada, going to Vancouver. See family. What's that about? I know. Got to get up there, see the fam. Because apparently I'm married to a Canadian. Who knew? I didn't until recently. That's an interesting story in itself. Oregon is here. Florida. Welcome, Florida. Latin America's here. Very nice. We've got plenty to do here. Texas, Chicago's here again. Welcome. The time traveler from Russia, of course. Saudi Arabia, welcome. We've got some other things to go through here in that first hour. We'll figure it out as we go along. It looks like everything's working. So we're going to cross our fingers. The recordings are going here. You can see my Cylon's going down here. Recording is going on the TriCaster, which is going on here. I think we're in pretty good shape. So we might as well get this thing started. Here we go, everybody. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the March 2019 Professor Messer 220-1001 A+ study group from the world headquarters of Messer Studios here in Tallahassee, Florida. Welcome. My name is James Messer. I'll be your host for these next hour of Q&A, and then we'll have probably another hour or so, or less, or more, of some call-in. So you're welcome to ask questions in the chat room, some Q&A. You're welcome to ask questions about the A+ or almost anything else you would like. It's just open phone lines once we're done here. But this first hour will all be Q&A. We've got plenty of questions to go through. I'll break down all of these details about the 220-1001 exam. This is the first of 2 study groups that we do for the A+. So we used to do one study group for both A+ exams combined. Well, we've broken them out. So we've got A+ study group for what we're doing with the 1001 and the 1002. So that's nice. We'll do the 1002 study group in 2 days. That'll be nice to have it there. This is a study group that we have available for once a month. So you can always check the calendar online at professormesser.com/calendar to know exactly what we're doing. There is also a number, I'll give out this number later on for the second half of the show. Don't call that yet, but don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. We can go to YouTube, professormesser.com/YouTube. Those subscriptions mean a lot. I have a call this week, in fact, with my YouTube representative. They wouldn't be taking my phone calls if it wasn't for your support. So thank you for punching that subscribe button. It really does mean a lot, and it helps us get more videos to you. So there's actually a good reason to subscribe there. If you want to know when the latest A+ videos are coming out, make sure you hit the bell as well. I'm putting out new videos now constantly for the new A+ exam. Make sure you do that. There's also A+ questions of the day on Twitter. Go to professormesser.com/Twitter. In the chat room earlier, before the study group, someone was asking about continuing education unit credit. And I will give you 1 hour of a webinar category, continuing education unit credit, sometime in this first hour. So listen during this first hour somewhere, somehow, and there will be a question for you that gives you, that I will tell you all about. I'll break it down for you. I'll give you the details. You'll understand exactly how to earn the CEU, but you have to be listening to know why. So make sure you go through that process and think about what we're doing here. You have to listen in. So that's the secret. If you don't listen in, you don't get the CEU. Darn it. I've got, now you have to listen. Now you're stuck having to listen to me. Right now, as we sit here on March the 5th of 2019, there are actually 2 different series of A+ certification exams that you could take. You have the choice between the 900 series and the 1000 series. So you've got Now some decisions to make. We'll talk about those decisions in a moment. The 900 series exams came out on December the 15th of 2015. They retire on July 31st of this year. So you only have, this is March, the beginning of March. So we'll say the entire month of March is yours to study. March, April, May, June, July. I count 5 months. So you have 5 months right now before the 900 series exams disappear forever. You have to pass both of those exams by July 31st, or you do not earn your A+ certification. If you pass one of them and then July 31st hits, then you're back to where you started. You have to start over. You don't earn the A+, and you can't use the certification exam that you passed. So you have to make a decision now on which series of exams you're going to take, because there is the 221,001 and the 221,002. I am calling those the 1,000 series exams. Those were released in January. So those are brand new exams. Part of the problem you have right now is that it's difficult to find new content for the 1,000 series. It takes a while for people to create the new content, get the new books out, but there should be some new books arriving next month. So hopefully you will be able to find new materials there. The exams are effectively the same in structure and format. So you have the same amount of time, the same number of questions. Not much has changed with the process. The only thing that's changed is the content. And that's the important part that you have to know about if you're trying to decide. If you're going to take the 221,001 or 1,002, about 20% of the content is brand new. If you're studying the 900 series exam, don't go take the 1,000 series test, because there will be new materials that you had no idea was there. And 20% is, it's not a lot, except when you're in the exam, it's a lot. Think about taking 20 points off of a percentage type of grade. That's a big chunk that you won't know about. So make sure that if you're studying for the 900 series exam, use 900 series study materials. If you're studying for the 1,000 series exam, study with 1,000 series materials. Don't mix and match. That's important on this. The structure of the exam has changed a little bit as well. The Core 1 exam, which is what they're calling the first exam now, which is the 221,001, mobile devices, networking, hardware, virtualization, cloud computing, and hardware and network troubleshooting. And then on the Core 2 exam, operating systems, security, software troubleshooting, and operational procedures. This is almost identical to the existing 900 series. They're in a different order. There are obviously differences in the underlying content that you need to know, but at least the overall structures and content of the entire exams is about the same between the 900 and 1,000. The point is, there's not much you have to know as far as structure. The only thing you have to know is that 20% difference, and that is a big difference, so don't forget about that. What we're going to do today, though, is Q&A for the 1001 exam. Don't forget, by the way, that this entire study group is available in audio form, in a podcast form. You can find it at professormesser.com/podcast. You'll find the podcast there for both A+ study groups, the Network Plus study group, and the Security Plus study group. You can subscribe to them with your podcasting program. They will automatically download and be available whenever you want to listen in. And, of course, you can stream directly from that page as well. Some of you have also said, I need an easier way to find things in the previous videos that you've done for these study groups. Well, about a day after the study group is done, my marketing manager, Lori, has gone through the entire video. She's had to watch the whole thing, and she puts timestamps in. So you can go back to any of my study groups, find the timestamp for the thing you were interested in, and go directly to that question, directly to that phone call, find everything that you need to find. She's long suffering having to listen to all of these things, but she does listen at 2x speed, I hope, to go a little bit faster. But about a day after, you'll find this. It's a nice resource. Make sure you take advantage of it if you need it. We're going to do Q&A today, and here's how you do it. Go to professormesser.com/QA. So if you're watching this, pop open a new browser window and just type in professormesser.com/QA. There'll be a question waiting for you right there. There's also an app you can download. You want the Socrative student app. That's what you're looking for. So make sure that you have a look at that. And you want to, it will ask you for a room name. Make sure you put the room name in of Professor Messer, PROFESSORMESSER. That's the important one. If you do all of that, there will be a question waiting for you. Here's the question. This is one from last month. So if you were here last month, you know this one. Here's what we call our rewind question that asks, A network administrator is installing a POTS modem for a console at a remote site. What type of cable interface would this modem require for connectivity to the POTS line? And then you have some options available to you. Those options are RJ45, BNC, RJ11, TRS, and USB. All real connectors, but you have to know which one is most appropriate for that POTS modem. On my side, I get to see interactively as you're answering this. So I can see that 75% of you have already chosen RJ11, 16% chose RJ45, 7% chose BNC, 3% TRS. Nobody chose USB. Why wouldn't it be USB? Shouldn't it be USB for everything? Should we just make sure everybody uses USB? That would be easier to do, I think. Well, if you've ever worked with a plain old telephone service modem, a POTS modem, we sometimes refer to these as analog modems or analog lines that you would plug into. It is the traditional two-wire phone line that you would expect to get from anything that you're doing out on that phone system. Those types of connectors for those types of two-wire phone systems are RJ11. So RJ11 is what the right answer was here. It's used for analog modems. It's used for DSL. It's used for your traditional phones. Those are good. So you've got some RJ11 type connectors you need to worry about. You'll find these RJ11 are what they call 6-position 2-conductor. It's only 2 wires inside of that. Sometimes you'll see a different wiring scheme for these that has 4 conductors inside of it. Not technically an RJ11, but we tend to call it RJ11 generically. There's a picture of one that has four conductors inside of it. Technically, that's an RJ14, but generally speaking, we just call them RJ11 because we think that connector type is all the same, so that's what we call it. So hopefully, those of you that answered the RJ11, 74% of you got that one right. It looks like people are able to get into the questions and being able to do things like this. So that's great. You're able now to get into these and see them. What we should do now is do some new questions. So let's get started with our March questions. One of the things I like to do for these questions, by the way, is in some way emulate part of the actual exam. And for those of you that have taken a CompTIA exam before, you know the entire exam is not multiple choice, that there are a section of questions at the very beginning of the exam that are what CompTIA calls performance-based questions. These could be questions that are fill in the blank. They could be matching questions. They could have all kinds of different things associated with them. I'm going to quickly make sure. They could be putting things in order from fastest to slowest and highest to lowest. You never know exactly what you're going to get with these. So one of the things that I like to do is to make sure that you're able to see these. I'm going to make sure that I've got one here that you can see. And for some reason, I've got a action on this I need to change. Let me change my build order so we can see this all at one time. Here we go. I got a little happy with my dissolves. I want to show you the entire slide at one time, though. There we go. So you can see what this is. So the question I want to give you is a performance-based question. It's not a multiple choice. It might pop you into a command prompt and ask you to perform a command. I'm not going to do that to you this time, but this one is one that is a matching question. And even worse, people in the chat room are like, no, not a performance-based question. Not only is it a matching question, it's on printers. The thing that everyone seems to hate. Well, I'm on board for hating it, but we have to figure this out. It's all part of the exam objectives. Printers are a little bit annoying, but this performance-based question is a matching question. The matching question is listing out and asking you to match the printer type to the technology. And we've got 6 different printer types. We have virtual, thermal, laser, impact, 3D, and inkjet. Those are the 6 different printer types that you need to know for your A+ exam. And then I've got 6 different technologies that you have to match to these. The 6 technologies are fuser, output file, plastic filament, heating element, ink cartridge, and ribbon. Now, if you think that they are all matched perfectly right now, you would put into the answer on Socrative, you would put 1A, 2B, 3C, 4D, 5E, and 6F. they are not those. That's my hint for you, is they are not already matched. You have to first match these together. So hopefully you're familiar enough with, I'll go through these again for the folks on the podcast, you're familiar enough with these printers. Here are the printer types: virtual, thermal, laser, impact, 3D, and inkjet. And the 6 different technologies are fuser, output file, plastic filament, heating element, ink cartridge, and ribbon. So hopefully, I can see a number of you already working on these things, trying to figure it out. You could put your answers into Socrative one at a time. You could put, you don't have to write them out. A lot of you already figured this out for those and figuring out the details. And the folks in the chat room are like, oh no, not printer questions. Although it is better than the Soho router question, right? So at least you know exactly what 6 there are. I didn't put more technologies in than there were printer types, which CompTIA tends to do on these questions. They will give you 6 printers, and they might give you 10 different technologies. So there might be technologies left over at the end. It's not a one-to-one match. I was a little bit merciful on you and only gave you an exact match for this one. So we'll be able to go through these. I'm watching the questions come in. Many of you are trying to Google. I can tell when you're trying to Google these things. It takes a while for you to get in here. These, by the way, are very common types of questions you would get on the exam. They do a lot of matching questions. There's a lot of questions putting things in order from fastest to slowest. Sometimes there's an image, a picture of something. You have to drop the technology into the right place on the image. Sometimes it's a picture of something like a motherboard, and they expect you to pick out what all the different types are, maybe drag and drop into what those are on the motherboard. So this is where you go. Make sure we do not answer in the chat. You answer by going to professormesser.com/QA. Thank you for asking. We want to keep the chat free of answers or hints there. That is one whenever you're starting to go through and figure out what are the right answers with these things. We want to maybe think about doing this the same way you would be in the exam, which is, nope, we don't know. We have no idea what these things might be. We're in a blind area. We don't have Google. We don't have anything. You just never know. And as they mentioned in the chat room, you're going to have a number of performance-based questions at the beginning of your exam. It's a random number. You never know exactly how many, but it's usually about a handful of questions. Now that you've had time to think about this, let's go through all of these printer types and see what they are. I think this is one we can break down. So let's start with the first one, which is the virtual printer type. And if you have the virtual printer type, what would a virtual printer type technology be associated with? It'd be associated with B, an output file. A virtual printer is one that is digital, so it would be creating a PDF file. It'd be creating that XML, Microsoft XML formatted file. It would be creating an image of the document. And so it needs to create an output file to do that. The second one is a thermal type. A thermal printer, what type of technology that I listed there is associated with a thermal printer? Well, if you think you know what that is, then it's probably, the name is almost in telling you that it's D, a heating element. So a thermal printer does have a heating element as the print head. It's not even really a print head. It just heats up the paper as it goes by and changes the color. And that's very common to see on a thermal printer. The third option is laser. A laser printer, and the associated technology was a fuser. It's one of the next to last steps in the list that CompTIA gives you, is fusing the toner, melting it, and permanently fastening it to the paper by using heat and pressure. Our fourth printer type is impact. An impact printer is going to commonly have a ribbon associated with it. The pins on the head of the impact printer are printing through the ribbon and hitting the paper on the other side, and that's how we get ink onto the paper, through those little pins in that dot matrix impact printer. There are other types of impact printers, but the ones you need to know for the CompTIA exam are dot matrix printers. 3D printer. If you haven't been studying for the 220-1001, this is a new one from the 900 series exam. A 3D printer is something you do need to know for the certification exam. And the type of technology associated with 3D printer was C, plastic filament. It's the plastic filament that goes into the 3D printer that helps create that 3D object using that 3D printer's print head. And the last technology, inkjet, Well, the only one left was E, ink cartridge. That was almost a gimme. If it's inkjet, it does use an ink cartridge. I didn't know any other way to say that other than ink cartridge because that's what it is. So quick to summarize for this one, virtual is output file, thermal is heating element, laser is fuser, impact printer uses a ribbon, a 3D printer uses plastic filament, and an inkjet printer uses ink cartridge. You may get a number of questions like this on your exam. Make sure you're very familiar with these technologies, how they work, all of those things. You never know exactly what you might be asked at the beginning of the exam, and those performance-based questions are very important. Now let's do some multiple choice. Now we're back to choosing A, B, C, D, E type questions. Maybe that will be more comfortable for all of us. So here's a question I have for you that is asking, when a SIM is moved from one mobile device to another, all incoming calls will follow the SIM. Which of the following allows this capability? Would it be IMEI? Would it be VPN? Would it be PRL? Would it be IMSI? Or would it be PRI? Which of those? So the question asks, when a SIM is moved from one mobile device to another, all incoming calls will follow the SIM. Which of the following allows this capability? So if you think you know, is it IMEI, VPN, PRL, IMSI, or PRI? Maybe it's one of those. Certainly a number of you would know this one, being able to work some of these. So some people are saying, I'm at a cell phone store right now and I don't know this. This is an interesting set of technologies. This mobile technology push on the exam is very important. If you think you know the answer, do not answer in the chat room. You want to go to professormesser.com/QA. And AJ in the chat room is absolutely right in your strategy. If you don't know, take a guess. If you do not know, take a guess. That's a pretty important one from what we know of the exam, because CompTIA doesn't tell you a lot about the exam and how they grade it. But one thing we know is that you don't get penalized if you get a question wrong. So you can only earn points if you get a question right. So make sure that you at least try and answer. Never leave a question blank on the exam. Go all the way down, answer them all A. Do a Christmas tree. Just pick what you think randomly might be the closest thing. Try something, but do not leave them blank. Always take a guess at them to be able to work through this. So make sure you're familiar with these. This is a technology and a capability you need to know for the exams. Pretty important to have this. So let's see how we did with this one. A number of you have answered this one already. Let's flip back and have a look at how do we do. There we go. We've got kind of a mix. We're sort of torn between the two. 43% of you have chose IMEI. 40% have chose IMSI. Which one is it? We were just not sure to have all of these. So if you're ever trying to figure out the details of this, at least we had people go 50-50 on this one. 9% of you chose PRL, 5% chose PRI, and 3% chose VPN. So that's an important thing as well. This is where you really have to break down what these particular questions are and how they work. So make sure that you work through all of the possible answers. Let's see what we think the answer might be here. Let's talk about the two things you chose were IMEI and IMSI. The words are very similar. The abbreviations are very similar to each other. Let's talk about what an IMEI is. That's the International Mobile Station Equipment Identity. It is the physical mobile device. It's almost like a serial number for this device, but it's very unique because no other device in the world has this particular IMEI. Every phone, every mobile device that connects to this mobile network, they all have a unique IMEI. So if we know the IMEI, then we effectively know the physical device. We can go down to that level of the physical device. And this is what can be used by the mobile provider to allow or disallow access. If they want to turn off your phone, they turn off the IMEI, and that turns off that physical device from being able to communicate on their network. The IMSI is the International Mobile Subscriber Identity. And this is what is going to identify you as the subscriber. So effectively, it's you as the user of that device. Usually, many times, that subscriber entity, the IMSI, is provisioned in the SIM card of your mobile device. So it's associated with the SIM card, which means if we move that SIM card from one device to another, we're still, it recognizes that it's our SIM card, that it's our subscriber identity, and it would effectively have the same rights and permissions or subscriptions that we have. Whatever their service agreement is with that mobile provider follows the SIM card because that follows what I'm paying associated with it. So you can swap that SIM between phones, and effectively your agreement with that mobile provider would follow, assuming, of course, they have not disabled a particular IMEI, a physical device, from working properly. See how these work together? But the one that we were looking for, and the question that was most important for us, was the question that asked, we were moving a SIM from one device to another, which the following is going to use that as IMSI. And I think people in the chat room were mentioning, well, you can think of the SI as sort of being related to the SIM. It really stands for the subscriber, but if you associate S with SIM, you can build back, oh, that's the subscriber. Whereas the IMEI being the equipment is another way to think about that. That's the E, is the physical device or the equipment. So those are two ways to think about doing this. We went 50-50. We didn't get a majority, but we did pretty good. I tried to get 50% of you getting these things right. And in this case, 41% of you got it right. That was pretty close to have that there. So make sure you think about these different options. You understand the different options. All of the options in here, by the way, VPN, PRL, and PRI are all technologies that are real. So if you don't recognize what a PRL is, you don't recognize what a PRI is or a VPN, make sure you go back and understand those as well. Those are pretty important to have that here. We did pretty good on that one. Let's do another question. I've got another one here that we can go through. This next question is going to talk about Ethernet. So here we go. Is the Ethernet that is there asks, which of these would be the best way to check the continuity of the wires inside of an Ethernet patch cable? Which of these would be the best way to check the continuity of the wires inside of an Ethernet patch cable? What would it be? Well, we've got some options. Some of the options are ping, loopback plug, punch-down tool, cable tester, or toner probe. One of these would be the best way to check the continuity of the wires inside of an Ethernet patch cable. Is it ping, loopback plug, punch-down tool, cable tester, and toner probe? You'll have to know what those things are, of course, to be able to answer this question. If you do know the answer to the question, go to ProfessorMesser.com/QA. Even if you don't know the answer to the question, you can go to ProfessorMesser.com/QA. There's plenty of things that you can look at there and see if you can choose from that. Maybe take a guess at what these things might be. That might be the way to do it. Checking the continuity of an Ethernet patch cable. I'm going to take a sneak peek now that people are answering these. We have a lot of answers that came in very quickly. So that makes me wonder if we actually did this, if we actually know the answer, or did we go 50-50 again on this one? That would be one to think about as we work through all of these. If you know the answer, go to ProfessorMesser.com/QA. You can plug it in right there. Remember your answers, because once you plug it in, it doesn't tell you what you answered. You have to figure that out. Some people, chat room, Cody's saying I'm split, going back and forth on this one, not quite sure. That's a good place to be, by the way. At least you have a choice between two. It's a 50-50 on your exam. There's worse situations to be in. So take a guess and see if you happen to know what it is. Let's see what we're working on here to break all of those. I think we should figure this. We can work through all of these different pieces in the study group and getting the details all where we need to be. Let's see how you did, though. Let's flip back to these questions and see how you did. Let's click the How Do We Do button. And, well, it looks like we have one definite majority here. 68% of you have said cable tester. Cable tester. This is the majority, but is it the right answer? We can see that 14% of you chose loopback plug, 10% chose toner probe, 5% chose ping, and 2% chose a punch-down tool. Hardly anybody chose punch-down tool. Well, as you might guess, the correct answer is really indeed a cable tester. And that's the one that most people went with, was the cable tester on here, and it is the right answer. It's a relatively simple device. It is really designed to check continuity very easily between two ends of a cable because there are two different pieces you can break out. You put one piece on one end, one piece at the other, and it effectively gives you a wiring map. It will tell you if you're missing any wires, if some of the pins were crossed. You can see exactly what's there. Now, this is not going to be able to tell you the quality of the wire itself. You're not going to be able to know, can this cable support 10 gig Ethernet? Is there too much crosstalk? What is the value of the near end crosstalk and the far end crosstalk? A cable tester is not going to be able to tell you that. You need more advanced equipment such as a time domain reflectometer or TDR to be able to get detailed analysis of the frequencies going across the wire. What we're talking about when we say cable tester is a very, very simplified device that just provides continuity. Here's an example of a very simple one. You can see the cable tester, you turn it off or on. That's the only switch on the device. So already we know it's pretty simple. And then it will light up whenever there are pins that match on both sides. So you plug this device into one end of the cable, this device into the other end of the cable, and it will tell you how many of those pins have continuity. That's really it. Very simple device, but very inexpensive. You can buy a cable tester for $10, $20. It is a very basic. When you buy a $10 cable tester, which they have out on Amazon, it's worth about $10. You'll want to throw it at the wall. It's so cheap. But you will at least know, in some cases, if there's continuity, and other cable testers might even tell you the exact pin map, the cable map for each wire. That wire map can be really useful to determine, did I accidentally put pin 1 into pin 7? Really needs to go pin 1 to pin 1. Tell you all of those. And of course, the different capabilities of these cable testers are useful. So make sure you know what the capabilities are before you buy. And 69% of you spot on cable tester. Now, what about these other options? Why were those not really the best way to check continuity? 14% of you said loopback plug. A loopback plug doesn't check the wire at all. The loopback plug is designed for testing the interface or the plug. You can think loopback plug checks the plug. So if you have a loopback plug for Ethernet, for example, you're connecting it into an Ethernet connection, it's taking the signal and looping it back into the interface. It never makes it out onto any wire. So one of the things that's nice about a loopback plug is we can send out traffic and then we can see if we receive the traffic. And if we are not sending or receiving traffic properly, we know there's a problem with our interface. It's a very common way to test the physical interface. 9% of you said toner probe. Toner probes are great for finding a wire. They effectively put a sound on the wire that we can then use a probe to find on the other end of the wire somewhere. And if you've ever been in a data center and there's these huge, enormous groups of wires coming in, you can see how valuable that might be. You can put the tone on one end of the wire and then use your probe to figure out where's the other end of this wire. Probably not a problem at home, but it's an enormous problem in your data center. It does not help with continuity, though. All it does is identify a physical grouping of wires that are there, one single 4-pair UTP, for example. 5% of you chose ping. All ping does is tell you if you're able to communicate with another device that's somewhere down the way. It's not really checking continuity of wires, although it could be argued that if the wires did not have continuity, you probably wouldn't be able to ping. But you're now a couple of steps removed from the actual problem. And the question did ask you for the best way. Ping would not be the best way. The best way to check for continuity of wires in this case is indeed the cable tester. And the last one, 2%, said punch down tool. The punch down tool is a device that physically puts the wire into a punch down block. That doesn't help us determine if continuity was right. We could punch the thing down completely wrong. The only way you'd be able to know is if you put a cable tester on after you punched it down, and then you finally would be able to see if that's the case. So that indeed is one of the best ways to do this, and that's really your only possible answer in this scenario was D, cable tester. Well, that is a lot to know for the exam. The exams are, we've got more questions. Stick around. We got plenty more questions to go through, by the way. But I do want to tell you that everything from every one of my videos, my 221,001 and my 221,002 videos, I've taken all of the text, all of the graphics, all of the information in those, and I have put them into a single document. This is my course notes. I'm going to pull up the course notes on my machine here so you can see the 221,001 course notes. You can get a feel for what those look like. These are course notes that people have asked for. They've said, I go through the videos and I take notes. And of course, I'm watching the videos and looking at all the information, but there's a lot of videos and I just don't have time to go through every single one of these videos. So instead, I want to go through the course notes. And the course notes that are here provide you with information about everything from the exam. All the hardware, all of the networking things we just talked about, all of the details with POTS lines and connectors and mobile devices and troubleshooting. It's a great summary. It doesn't replace the videos. It doesn't replace your textbook. But if you need something to give you a summary of what's there, this is something that might help. Here's a picture of the course notes. They are available in a digital form and a physical form. So the digital form has my course notes here. We start with the laptop hardware because that's where the exam objectives start. And you can see all of the graphics, all of the important things. They're summarized in these course notes. Another thing that I have available is a physical version of the course notes. Here they are. So this is the 221,001. All the course notes are here. So all of those images, full color, nice, high quality, what they call perfect bound, like a paperback book might be, is available in these course notes. If you purchase the physical version, which costs a little more because it has to get printed out, I give you a digital version for free. So there's some advantages to doing something like that. We've got all of those course notes available on my website to purchase right now. You can find that at professormesser.link/1000 notes, or just follow the links on the website. They're in the A+ download menu. All the course notes, by the way, are complete and full and done. I create all of my courses before I shoot the videos. So all of the courses are done. You're just really waiting on me to shoot video. So of course, all the course notebooks are done. So you don't have to wait on me for these. They are full and complete. I don't expect even there to be changes or updates to this. Maybe minor updates if I find that I've misspelled something, which occasionally does happen. I'll update it and you can download new versions. But I generally put everything in here. I don't expect there's going to be any updates to that. So those are pretty useful to have that there. And all of those things are available on my website. Every penny of this goes back to supporting the site. So I want to thank you for doing that. It does come in handy. Keeps the lights on and your support. We wouldn't be able to make any of these free videos or make them available without your support. So thank you so much for that and your ongoing support as well. Find out more about those, professormesser.link/1000 notes. Let's do another question. I will be talking about CEUs in a moment. Some of you in the chat room are asking about that. We'll talk about that in a moment. Here's your question. The question asks, a system administrator needs to check the voltage that a desktop power supply provides to the PCI Express slots. Which of these voltages would be the most important to check? So a system administrator needs to check the voltage that a desktop power supply provides to the PCI Express slots. Which of these voltages would be most important to check? Would it be 3.3 volts, 5 volts, 12 volts, 120 volts, or 240 volts? We've got some options available there. 3.3 volts, 5 volts, 12 volts, 120 volts, and 240 volts. Got some options there. If you think you know the answer, do not answer in the chat room. You want to go to professormesser.com/QA. And our question, again, is a system administrator needs to check the voltage that a desktop power supply provides to the PCI Express slots. Which of these voltages would be most important to check? So that's a good one to go through. Some of you earlier were asking about the performance-based questions because you saw in the performance-based question that we did, it was a matching. So you could get some of the questions right and some of the questions wrong. The question came up is, do you get partial credit? And CompTIA has said in their frequently asked questions on their site, they do give partial credit on some of these questions. They don't tell you which ones. They have no idea. You're not quite sure if you're going to be able to get partial credit or not, but they have said, yes, we absolutely get partial credit on certain questions. So at least we know some insight into their testing. I think in the chat room, we were trying to figure out, is it yes? Do they not do any partial credit? Do they some partial credit? The answer from CompTIA directly is yes, they do provide some partial credit. Now with multiple choice questions, there's not an option really for a lot there. Most of the time it's a single answer. So you're either going to get it right or not. And this is one of those examples where you're either going to get it right or you're not. So this is one where we're going to have to figure out those pieces. Let's see how we did with this one. I'm going to flip over and let's see how we did. Well, we definitely were mixed up on this one. Which one of these could it possibly be? It's almost a three-way tie for first. It's certainly a very close between 5 volt got 34% of the vote, 12 volt got 29% of the vote, 3.3 volt got 24% of the vote. Sure did. 120 volt got 11% and 240 got 2%. Now, all of these voltages, of course, could be found somewhere around your computer. So all of these are valid voltages that you could possibly find if you got out your multimeter and you started checking voltages. You would find that all of these may be on your system, or at least a few of these. It could be option between 120 or 240, but all the rest will certainly be there. 3.3, 5 volt, 12 volt will most likely be there. But the question was asking specifically about the PCI Express slots. And this is something that I put into this latest series of videos because people had questions about inside of a computer, if we have a certain voltage coming from the power supply, what is it powering? Because we have 3.3 volt, we have 5 volt, we have 12 volt, we have plus and minus on some of these voltages. So the question was, if I lose the 5 volt power coming from my power supply, what is affected inside of my computer? So let's step through a few of these very quickly to give you a feel for this. The power supply, of course, is going to be giving you these different voltages. A 12 volt, a plus 12 volt, positive 12 volt is going to be powering PCI Express adapters. It's going to be powering hard drive motors, cooling fans, and any of the modern components that are inside of your computer. Almost all of those modern devices will be using those plus 12 volts on the computer. Now, you'll also find some devices will have plus 5 volts. Some components will use that. Not a lot these days, though. Fewer and fewer components on the motherboard are using plus 5 volts. What you'll generally find from many of those other components on the motherboard is plus 3.3 volts. So things like your M.2 slots for storage, you've got RAM slots, you've got logic circuits for the motherboard, and other components on there are probably going to be using plus 3.3 volt to be able to do that. There's other voltages that I provide in the video. If you go back to the 221001 videos, section 3.7 on computer power, which I've uploaded to YouTube, but you can't see it yet. We'll go through the other voltages that you will see inside of your computer. So I mentioned earlier, going out, subscribing to YouTube at professormesser.com/YouTube and pressing that alarm button. So as soon as I make that video public, you'll be notified and you can see that that power supply or the power video for computer power will suddenly be available. So the one we were looking for PCI Express slots, you can see, is plus 12 volts. 12 volts is what we were looking for. If you answered C, 30% of you chose that one, the plus 12 volts, to have that there. That is the correct answer for something that is looking for power to PCI Express slots. So if you're looking at your power supply and you're wondering, am I getting enough power to my PCI Express? You should automatically think, well, let me check the 12 volt rails. Let me check my 12 volt outputs and make sure that I'm getting 12 volts from that. Some people in the chat room are focused on colors of wires. Do not worry about colors of wires. You can never rely on a manufacturer to be able to maintain the same colors between the different manufacturers. Just focus on the different voltage values. The one thing that's not going to change is the pin numbers, but you don't have to know pin numbers either. So that's the important one to those, and have understanding of what you would run into when you run into those types of issues. Let's do another question. We got more here to go through. By the way, the only thing coming from the power supply is going to be the 3.3 volts, the 5 volts, and the 12 volts. On the other side of the power supply, yes, you would be using your multimeter to check that. You can use your multimeter on the other side of the power supply. This is the side of the power supply that's plugging into the wall outlet. That is where you would see 120 volts or 240 volts, one or the other. And of course, in that computer power video, I talk about switching power supplies, manual switching and auto switching, and what the differences are. If you're not sure what's coming out of the wall,
You can always use your multimeter right in the wall socket to see what type of voltages I'm getting out of the wall, and then you'll know what to set the power supply in your computer to, so you're not going to have any problems there at all. That's an important thing to consider. Let's do another question, though. Enough about power. Some of you were asking about the cloud earlier, so I think we need a cloud question, don't we? The cloud question of the month is here. And the question asks, a system administrator would like to move all user desktop computers to a centralized cloud-managed solution. Which of the following would be the best choice? Would it be IaaS, SaaS, VPN, PaaS, or VDI? So a system administrator would like to move all user desktop computers to a centralized cloud-managed solution. Which of the following would be the best choice? Would it be IaaS, SaaS, VPN, PaaS, or VDI? If you think you know the answer, go to professormesser.com/QA. You can absolutely go there and figure out the details. See if you can guess at some of those and what they might be. Maybe you're familiar with this technology. Maybe this is an easy one. I like the easy questions. The easier questions are the ones I already know. There's people say the ones I don't know must be a trick question. That's because it tricked me. Well, you just didn't know it. Well, there was no trick involved. But it's a good opportunity. If you don't know, during this study group, I like it when you don't know the answer, because I feel like if I don't know, I've learned something, and I'll know it if it shows up on the exam. If there was ever a time to get a question wrong, this is the time to get it wrong. So take a guess, plug it in. I'm going to take a sneak peek. Actually, I can't stand it. So I'm going to have a look and see how we're doing on this one. Take a guess, plug it in, see what we can figure out. Read the questions very, very carefully. The questions I'm giving here on the study group are relatively short, actually. On the exam, some of these questions go on and on and on. They talk a lot in the questions. So you have to be able to read these things very, very well. So that becomes handy to have those things there. And hopefully that'll be an easy one to figure out and getting them there. This is a real challenge, isn't it? Figuring out these details. Let's see how we did with this one. I'm going to let a couple more people click in this one, figure it out. The question asked, a system administrator would like to move all user desktop computers to a centralized cloud-managed solution. Which of the following would be the best choice? There were two things in this question we wanted to really focus on. One was centralized cloud-managed solution, and the next one was the best choice. How did we choose? Well, we're all over the place. 30% said IaaS, 29% said SaaS, 23% said PaaS, 11% said VDI, and 7% said VPN. So the cloud-based technologies have stymied us, and they've now given us a real challenge with this particular question. The real question here, and the one we wanted to focus on, was really revolving around what a user desktop computer and a centralized cloud-managed solution. That user desktop computer was actually more important than centralized cloud-managed solution. We knew it was going to be cloud-managed. We knew it was going to be, if it's in the cloud, it's probably centralized. We really are focusing on user desktop computers. What if you could take someone's computer, and we always talk about putting servers in the cloud. What if we put somebody's desktop computer in the cloud? That's what we're talking about here. Move the user desktop computers so they're not even on someone's desk anymore. But wait, is it a desktop if it's not on someone's desk? It's a cloud top? I don't know. But that is what we were focusing on with this one. It is a cloud-based virtual desktop. It is what we call a virtual desktop infrastructure, a VDI. And VDI is not a new technology. For many, many years, we've had people that put their desktops in their local servers, in their data center. So they would have effectively, you would have a very simple device, a thin client on your desktop, and the thin client would connect to your local VDI server. But of course, that VDI server was in your data center. You had to buy the VDI server. You had to manage that software. If there was a power outage, you had to manage the power, manage the cooling. There would have to be people that understood VDI and were able to manage that system. So VDI became very useful. Now we've taken it a step further and said, let's get rid of the VDI server. And we don't manage it. It's not in our data center. We don't administer it. We don't handle the upgrades to it. Let's just stick it in the cloud. And so we've got cloud-based VDI that's absolutely available to you today. You can run this right now. I just shot the video for this one, and I used Amazon's workspaces. And in 5 minutes, I created a VDI cloud on Amazon, clicked the connect button, and instantly had a Windows 10 desktop on my system. That's how fast it was. So simple to get going. At that point, you're just managing Windows. What's interesting about that is that because it's in the cloud, and I'm effectively just doing a remote desktop, for lack of a better word, that's just a remote desktop connection to that. It felt like it was local, but it was really all happening in the cloud. But I'm on Mac OS, and I was running Windows 10. No virtualization. It was really a Windows 10. Well, it's probably virtualized in the cloud, but I'm not running that on my desktop. It's all running on another machine. So I could be on Linux. I could be on an iPad. I could be on an Android device, and I could run that operating system that's in the cloud. Pretty useful to have that functionality. This is one other important consideration, especially from a security perspective. The only thing going back and forth between your machine and that cloud-based system are the virtual keystrokes and mouse movements that are going there, and those are usually encrypted. So all of the files, the content, maybe customer information, maybe healthcare information, all of those things are all out in the cloud. So if you even were able to grab the data going back and forth to the cloud, you still wouldn't have access to the user data. It's all remaining in the cloud, which is kind of a nice security function. If you want to think of it that way, people think of the cloud as being insecure, and in many ways it is. But there are also some very significant security advantages for being in the cloud, and that's one of them, to have that functionality. Very nice to have that there. This is one of those, by the way, in the chat room where people who didn't know the answer think it's a trick question. It's not a trick question. I asked you wanted to move all user desktop computers to a centralized cloud-managed solution. Oh, when you don't know something, it's not a trick. But now you've learned something. That's one that's really useful. Now you understand that absolutely you can do this in the cloud. It's absolutely functional. I demonstrate this on my video where I just simply connect to the Amazon and it's right there. Makes it very, very easy for you to see that happen. So 11% of you, it came in 4th place in our list. 11% of you chose VDI, but indeed VDI was the right answer. The SAS, PaaS, and IaaS, those technologies, those models of cloud computing are associated with how applications are used. They aren't necessarily associated with how user desktops are managed. So that was one. Yeah, Lee's right. It's not a trick, but if you don't know, now you know. And there's no trick there. That's valuable. Not knowing in this case is actually more valuable than knowing. A VPN, by the way, virtual private networking, is a way to communicate over a network over a secure channel. Has nothing to do with cloud-based solutions dealing with desktop computers. So that's another thing that is a technology you need to know, but not associated with moving our user desktop into the cloud for all of those different pieces. So if you did answer, the 12% of you that did answer VDI, well done. Got that one absolutely right. If you are watching this video for continuing education unit credit, I will send you a verification, a certification, if you will, that you definitely watch this video, but you have to follow these instructions. If you do not follow these instructions, you will not get the certification email from me. What you want to do is go to the top or the bottom of the Professor Messer website. There's a Contact Us link. It's really Contact Me. You're contacting me, sending me that information. The Contact Me will bring up a form. You want to give me your name, your email address. Make sure those are right because I put your name in the reply and I'm obviously sending it back to your email address. So if you don't put your name and you don't put your email address, I can't do that. I think that makes perfect sense. We'll also have a place there to put a message. You can put any message to me there you would like. I'm the one reading through these things. But you want to be able to put the super secret special code word of the month in there. And the super secret code word of the month for the 221,001 A+ study group for March is VDI. You want to put somewhere in there, try to make it obvious. Some people like to kind of hide it in the message. And if I can't find it, then I can't send it to you. I go through these things very quickly and start breaking them down so that you're able to get the certification email from me. I send you back an email that has been digitally signed by me that says you must have watched this. You get an hour, and that digital signature can be verified. Technically speaking, CompTIA doesn't require this of you. They will take it on your word that you watch the study group. But I like to give you a little bit of extra certification so that if they do audit you, and they do audit people, they've audited you, you could say, no, he sent me this digital message that's a digitally signed message that says I must have watched this. That's exactly why I do that. It usually takes me about a week to turn these around. So if you don't get an answer back immediately, it's not an automated process. I sit down at my computer, I go through these, I make sure that everything is correct to have all of those things there. That's the functionality. So that's your super secret code word of the month is VDI. Make sure you follow those instructions to do it. The technology that I use for VDI in the cloud was from Amazon. Amazon Workspaces is what I set up. Amazon Workspaces for the virtual desktop infrastructure, which other people was asking about as well. We have time for another question. I think we can fit another one in there, right? Absolutely. Our next question, since we're talking about desktops, let's talk about one that maybe you know about, maybe you don't. We'll figure out the details in all of this. Here comes the question. As soon as I click the right buttons on my side, here we go. There it is. The question asks, a macOS user in shipping and receiving is randomly seeing the spinning wait cursor during the workday. The cursor spins for 30 seconds before returning control to the user. Which of these would be the most likely cause of this issue? Which of these would be the most likely cause of this issue? So a macOS user in shipping and receiving is randomly seeing the spinning wait cursor during the workday. The cursor spins for 30 seconds before returning control to the user. Which of these would be the most likely cause of this issue? Would it be an application bug? Would it be a bad display? Would it be a congested network? Would it be a post error? Or would it be a bad capacitor? One of those is the right answer. So this is where we want to deal with the spinning wait cursor. So hopefully you're familiar with the spinning wait cursor. Would it be caused by an application bug, a bad display, a congested network, a post error, or a bad capacitor? You think you know the answer? Go to professormesser.com/QA. Please no answers in the chat room. Please no hints in the chat room. We're going to try to figure this out on our own. If you aren't running Mac OS, then hopefully you'll be able to figure out these details. Maybe that would be one you can go through, figuring out what to do with this. Who knows? Who knows what this might be? I'm going to take a sneak peek. Maybe you know. Maybe this isn't even a question of what it would be. The spinning wait cursor. What is that? I think some of you are familiar with this. Some of you have been working through these and having that situation. This is yeah, maybe you're not familiar. That's true. Hopefully you're not familiar with the spinning wait cursor, but for the things you need to know for the exam, hopefully you are familiar with it. So you can at least go through the understanding of fixing the spinning wait cursor. That's your issue, is make sure you understand what that might be. Again, no hints in the chat room, please. Thank you. This is one where we're going to try to figure it out on our own. Make sure we know what these things happen to be. We've got a number of answers that have come in. A number of you have gone through all of these possible options. So hopefully this is one. And in fact, there may be a number of different reasons why you would receive this, but the question was very specific on here, on things that it could possibly be on this view of the world. So if we look at these different options, application bug, bad display, congested network, post error, or bad capacitor, what do we think it is? Well, here's our answers. Oh, it's a 50-50 or a 50-40 in this particular case. 50% of you said congested network. 41% of you said application bug. 4% said a post error. 4% said a bad capacitor, and only 1% said a bad display. So is this another situation where we're just not sure what this possible thing could be? Well, the real issue here is we need to get an understanding of the spinning weight cursor. That's what we need to focus on in this particular case, the spinning, what some people call the spinning ball of death. Not quite deadly in this particular situation. It's one where my graphics here, I copied over. They're not the best graphics because you're not supposed to see the ball yet. On my video, it actually looks a little better because the pointer suddenly turns into a spinning ball. See, it's awful. What happened with this animation? I'm firing the person who put this together, by the way. That was me. But it will look like a spinning ball when it goes through, and being able to work through this. It's some people do call it the beach ball, to have that there. Absolutely. It is that spinning ball, that spinning weight cursor is technically the name that Apple uses for this. It's giving us feedback that something is holding up the process. Something is really, really having an issue. This is very different. In the chat room, people are going, well, it's a spinning ball of death versus the blue screen of death. Those are two very different things. A blue screen in Windows, you're not getting out of that. You're having a problem there you can't recover from. The spinning ball could spin forever, or it could do it intermittently, like our question here, where it happens randomly throughout the day. It sits there for 30 seconds and it spins, but you have to really see what the problem is. So if it just sits there forever, then obviously you're not going to get back control of your computer, or it could be intermittent in the way that it's working, like it was with this particular question. The possible reasons for this are many and varied, but it's something that is taking up all of the resources of your computer and not giving you a chance to do anything else on that desktop. So very common spinning balls, spinning beach balls would be an application bug that is suddenly taking up all the resources of your computer and nothing can do anything until this application figures things out. Maybe it's bad hardware, such as a bad storage device. As things are trying to save to the storage device is not responding properly. So as your system is waiting for that storage device to respond, you get the spinning ball on your screen. Maybe trying to page information to disk, it's just slow. Maybe your drive itself is a slow drive. There's so much happening on your computer. It's completely overloaded. And now we have to wait for things to get written to the disk. The ball appears. So that's the situations you may run into. Sometimes you can restart the computer, get around some of these problems. But with things like application bugs or a bad drive, well, then you definitely have a problem because you're really not going to be able to fix that by rebooting your system. You're going to have to fix the drive. You're going to have to fix whatever the hardware problem is. If it's something like an application, well, you may be able to upgrade the application, contact the application developer, see if there's an update. So this is, people in the chat room are going, wow, there's a Mac question? Who asked? I don't know about Mac questions. Absolutely, Mac OS and Linux is covered on the A+ exams. You absolutely need to understand everything that's in the CompTIA exam objectives. So in our particular case, 39% of us chose application bug. Option A, that is the right answer. Application bug is the thing that was causing the problem that we're dealing with in this particular case. But why wouldn't it be one of these others? Which is really a good question. If we look at these other options, 51% of you said a congested network. Congested networks are certainly painful. Having a slow network can slow down your communication to the internet, but it's not going to lock up your local machine. You can do other things while the network is congested. So you don't get a spinning ball of death if the network is busy. If that was the case, my system would have a spinning ball of death all day long, but it doesn't because the congested network is not going to cause that. 4% said post error. Post error occurs when your system is the power on self-test. It only occurs when you power on. So you're not going to get the spinning weight cursor when your system is powered on. You don't even have a desktop yet. That's not the answer. 4% said a bad capacitor. A bad capacitor is generally going to cause your system not to operate. Capacitors are all over your motherboard, in your power supply. And usually when the capacitor goes bad, something's not working at all on your computer. It's very obvious. It's not going to be a spinning weight cursor that's going to be the most obvious thing. It's going to be the smell of smoke, and suddenly your system doesn't power on anymore. That's a bad capacitor. And then your bad display. Bad display is not going to cause the cursor to spin. It's going to mean that you can't see things on the screen, which is a very different kind of problem. So in this particular case, the most likely cause of this issue is an application bug. You will run into these occasionally with applications that lock up the system, and you're not able to do anything because of that. And that spinning beach ball, as we call it in Mac OS, is the result of that. So hopefully you've now become more familiar with those things. Everything that came in here today, all the questions we talked about, all the answers, everything I discussed today, including the Mac OS questions, come directly from the CompTIA exam objectives. If you have not downloaded these objectives, you are doing yourself a disservice. This should be the first thing you download when you start your studies. It should be the last thing you look at before you go into the exams. It is a great checklist for everything you need to know. It covers everything. Microsoft doesn't do this for people taking their exams. Cisco doesn't do this. VMware doesn't do this. Nobody does this except CompTIA. You should take advantage of it. I've got a link to their checklist, to their objectives. Go to professormesser.com/objectives, and you'll be able to hit the objectives on the page as well. Make sure you have those. They are valuable, valuable, valuable. Well, we've gone through an hour of Q&A. I can't believe it already. We are in May now, or we're in March now, and we do 2 A+ study groups a month. This was the first one of the month for the 221,001. 2 days from now on Thursday, for those of you watching live, is the 1002. If I can just get the numbers right, the 221,002 study group. Come back on Thursday. We'll do another round of these, except for the other exam. See how I split that up? But we've got other study groups available as well, not just the one on the 7th, 2 days from now, but next month on April the 2nd and April the 4th, the 221,001 and the 221,002. So you can come back in April. And if you're not even sure when the next one's going to be, or you'd like to know when the next Network Plus study group or Security Plus study group or any live event that we're doing, you can always look at the calendar, go to professormesser.com/calendar, or simply choose the calendar link from the menus on the Professor Messer website. Well, that's all the questions we have today, but I'll be opening up the phone lines, taking questions from the chat room. Absolutely, we'll be able to have a look at some of those options. You can call in or you can just ask questions in there. We'll get those available. Make sure you follow me on Twitter for my daily A+ pop quiz question. You can find that at professormesser.com/Twitter. Make sure you subscribe. See when the latest A+ videos are going to be released at professormesser.com/YouTube. It's another one. My course notes, of course, are available at professormesser.link/1000 notes, or just choose the option for the 1000 series notes from my website's main menus. And of course, check the calendar. We do these every month. Stick around for the next hour. We got plenty of Q&A. I'll open up the phone lines. You can ask a question about anything or almost anything. Be glad to answer them. I'll take questions from the chat room. I'll take it from phone calls. You can call in. I'll give you all those phone numbers in just a moment. But thank you for being here. We couldn't do this hour of Q&A without your help, without you being here, participating. We love it when you do it. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next time on the A+ Study Group. Well, let's open up the phone lines. Phone lines. I've got a lot of things to click on my side, so please bear with me. I'm going to pop open these shows, host a show. That's what I want to do. I want to start a show. That is what I want to do. Then I have to call into the show, and we'll talk about the questions you've been asking in the chat room, such as, what is the best study guide for the 221,001 exam? I have answers for you. Very easy answer, by the way. Let me call into my own show, and then I'll tell you how you can call into my show with this. Make sure I'm calling the right number. Well, sure. I'll be glad. You're very welcome for me calling this. I'm going to push some things on my screen. We're going to see what it says.
Enter your 6-digit PIN number.
We know at this point that that's redundant. I think I did that one wrong.
Welcome.
No, I didn't. It worked just fine. So thank goodness it worked just fine. If you would like to call in anywhere in the continental United States, you can call 855-785-7545. You can also do this on Skype anywhere in the world, absolutely free. On Skype, you can call, put a +1 at the beginning, no Skype minutes required. +1 855-785-7545. That's +1 855-785-RJ45. Get you there. You can call in, Or you can ask questions in the chat room. I'm taking questions from the live event chat that is in my chat room right in front of me. You're more than welcome to ask questions there as well. One of the questions earlier, as I mentioned, was what is the best study guide for the 1001 exam? There aren't any yet. In fact, I'm going to bring up a spreadsheet that I have on all of the A+ books that have been listed out, their release schedule on Amazon. The newest date, the latest date for A+ books, April the 10th. So right now we're here at May the 5th, right? Is that what today is? So we're looking at or March the 5th. We're looking at March the 5th now. Why do I keep saying May? I'm trying to jump into the spring already. We're March the 5th, so more than a month from now is the very first time we're ever going to see a book, and that's a lab manual. The first book we ever see that is a complete 221,001 and 221,002 textbook, as I like to call it, is April the 16th. So it's more than a month from now until we start to see some of these books get released. That's challenging, isn't it? We're having to wait a while, but this is relatively normal when we talk about release dates and timeframes. This especially is a big certification. It's 2 separate exams. It's effectively, if you think about Network Plus and Security Plus, it's 2 of those. So it's enormous to put together the content for these, and publishing content takes time. So a lot of people are upset that there wasn't something available on day 1, and I wish there was, but there is this challenge of physics that everyone is constrained with. So that's the real challenge. On April 23rd, 1, 2, 3 books will arrive on April 23rd, April 26th, April 30th. So by the time we're through with April, there's a good number of options available. There are releases on May the 10th and May the 11th, and then others throughout the rest of the year. So that's the summary. If you go out to Amazon, that's the dates they are showing. I'm sure those dates are subject to change, so just keep checking with the publisher of those books, and they'll be able to tell you. Is there a particular textbook to go with my course? No, I'm not basing my course on anyone's textbook. I'm simply following the same structure as the CompTIA exam objectives. So technically, you could use any book you want, because most books at the beginning of a chapter, sometimes in an appendix, will tell you if you're reading chapter 1, that is associated with these exam objectives. So you can cross-reference and then find my videos very, very easily to have those there. How long will the 900 series be available in Spanish? I believe English language is retired on July 31st. I believe all the other languages are available until the end of the year on December 31st. You can check the CompTIA website to double check me, but I believe that's correct. So there's an option there to do that. When do they start offering the 1001 test? The 1000 series exams were available on January the 15th. So you can take them in right now. They've been available for over a month. You've got plenty there. So question, people are calling in, so we'll go to the calls in just a moment. Question in the chat room, are all my videos recorded and am I in the editing phase? Well, it doesn't quite work like that. It works more in chunks. All of the content has been written. So of course, all of my course notes books are available and are full and complete. Even though the videos associated with the course notes books are not published, the content has been published because I write all of the courses the first thing. Secondly, is I go through them in chunks. So I wish I could sit down here and go through 100 videos in a day, or right after the other, but I generally do not. I generally will record in chunks of video. So I'll record 5 a day, 10 a day. It depends on how long the videos are and the content associated with them. If they require me doing some demonstrations, sometimes I edit as I go, but the actual shooting process is what we're doing now. So I will shoot 5 or 10 videos. I'll put them in the can. I'll stick them in my editing bay. And then when I have time in the afternoons, because when you shoot 5 videos a day, at the end of the day, you sound like this. So I stopped shooting whenever I sound like this. I'm down to 2 packs a day because I'm shooting these videos. So instead of you having to hear that, which was annoying enough for me to listen to just then, I will stop and then I'll do some editing. So that's why you see 5 videos get posted, 3 videos get posted, 7 videos get posted. So I just do a chunk at a time to have those there. That's what's really going on now. I am almost done with shooting all of the videos for the 1001. So I hope to have those done. Those are going to be done relatively quickly. I will then edit the rest of the remaining videos for the 1001 and get those done and posted before I start shooting videos for the 1002. So there you go. So that's your options there and the things available. That's sort of what goes on behind the scenes here. So I just sit in this room and well, that wasn't the right picture. There we go. I just sit in this room right here and I shoot the videos and I edit when I can and I publish them out. I just try to get them done as quickly as possible. There's no time change. Some people were asking, when are they going to be done? I don't know. It's whenever they're done. I don't have a date. I don't have a production schedule. Sometimes things in my world, outside of this building, things happen. So sometimes some days when I want to shoot, I'm not able to shoot. Sometimes I'll wake up with a cold. I can't shoot. Sometimes I have other responsibilities outside of this that I have to take care of that I wasn't expecting. I can't shoot. So those things, it's just normal life. We all have to go through that. So I try to get as many done as I can as quickly as possible. I'm going. So that's my goal, is to get them out as quickly as possible. I don't have an exact date for you, but I can tell you that I want them all done now, just like you do. The faster I can get them done, the faster I can go on to the next project. So I'm working on that as well. I promise you. I'm trying to get that done quickly. Let's quickly, by the way, go to the phone calls, the 678 area code. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Caller.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for calling. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Shazib Khan, and I'm calling from Virginia.
Oh, thank you. Welcome. What can we do for you?
Professor, I just wanted to ask you, I've been watching your videos since 2017. And
thank you.
I wanted to ask you, every time I watch your video, do I get as continuation education units?
What a good question. This comes up quite a bit. And you'll notice that when you watch my videos, whether you are on the Professor Messer website, whether you're on YouTube, you don't have to register to watch these. I don't ask for your email. You don't have to sign up. You don't have to log in. There's nothing there. I don't track any individuals watching the videos. I, of course, see overall how many videos have been watched today. I can see those metrics, but I have no idea who watched them other than what country their IP address is associated with. So I can see in the United States, yesterday, I know how many videos we think came from the United States. Very broad numbers, but I don't track any individuals. In fact, I've very specifically not set up any system to track those. And quite honestly, YouTube, at least now, doesn't provide me with a way to do that. Normally, there is an application programming interface, an API that a provider will provide that allows me to at least track some of those things. Currently, YouTube doesn't do that. So I don't have a way to verify that you have watched them. Now, CompTIA, however, doesn't require me to give you any type of verification. All they require is that you watch them. And submitting CEUs to CompTIA is it's sort of an honesty situation. If you watch 20 hours of my videos and you say I watched 20 hours of training videos, then you hand that to CompTIA, they're going to have to take you at your word that you watch those. The problem is if they want to audit you and say, prove that you watch those 20 videos, you don't have a way to do it. So it's sort of a plus minus situation there. There's advantages and disadvantages. So for watching my training courses, I can't provide you with any type of CEU because I have no idea if you watched it or not. For my study groups like this one, if you watched an hour of that, I'll give you an hour of that, but it's a webinar category and not a training course category. And as you're probably aware, you can only accumulate a small number of webinar category CEUs in any 3-year period. So perhaps not the best situation. If YouTube changes the way that we're able to do with things with tracking, there may be options in the future to do that. But today, that's how it is.
Okay, so there are more than, like, you have two classes for 1001 and 1002. If I watch both of them, I can earn CEUs from both of those, right?
Sure. You get 1 hour for each one. And I think if you're renewing your A+ certification, I want to say you get a maximum of 5 of those CEUs in a 3-year period. It might be 7. I know for Security Plus, it's 10. I'll have to go back and look at my notes. Probably have them right here. But yes, if you watch both of those study groups, and if you watch the replays, if you go back, I've got years of replays of you can watch. And also, by the way, the Network Plus study group counts towards A+ CEUs, and my Security Plus study group counts towards A+ CEUs because both networking and security are on the A+ exams. So you've got plenty to go back. So it's even worse than I thought. The maximum number of CEUs that you can earn in a 3-year period for renewing the A+ certification is 4. So if you watch 4 of my study groups, you're maxed out for that 3-year period. As you're probably aware, I think you need 20 CEUs to renew.
20.
So you need to get the 16 CEUs somewhere else.
Okay. Thank you so much, Professor. You just cleared everything for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate the call. In the chat room, we've had folks ask about the CEUs. Does it give you more credit to watch from YouTube or my website? It doesn't matter. In fact, on my website, I'm simply embedding the YouTube video. So it's not even a separate video. If you went to YouTube to watch it, you would not only see the same content, it's actually the same video. So that's one of those things. One of those weird things. We'll go back to the phones in a moment. Somebody was asking about the microphone. You can ask any question. It doesn't have to be about CompTIA. The microphone I'm using is a Heil PR40, H-E-I-L. Heil PR, Papa Romeo, 40. It's a great mic. I've had it forever. Since I started the company 14, 15 years ago. So it has been a workhorse. I love it. It's a great mic. I was thinking of getting new mics, and then I thought, no, I can't. It's like a brother. I can't get rid of the microphone. And it's a nice mic. It's not, in the world of broadcast mics, it is not a hugely expensive mic. It is not an inexpensive mic, but it sounds good. And when we started doing this, the videos were not in HD because there was no HD. They were all in 480p. They were all in standard definition because that's what we had at the time. There was no HD standard yet. And so watching videos also online at that time, not the clearest, most visually stunning things. And so I recognize that could be the situation with many people. So, and people will tell you this all the time, the audio is actually more important than the video is. And so I wanted to be sure to get audio equipment that was as good as it could possibly be. And the audio equipment that we have here is equipment that you could find in any radio station production house that does audio. I invested heavily into the audio to be able to do that. So that's why I got these mics. They're not common to see unless you have somebody who's really into the audio and wanting to get high quality audio. And I love them. Heil PR40s. Back to phones. We've got the 717 area code. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, thank you. My name is Daniel, and I hail from a little town in Pennsylvania.
Hello, Daniel. Thanks for calling. What can we do for you?
You kind of already answered my question. I'm one of those that's struggling with, do I take the 1000 series or the 900 series? I am one of those. I do certainly have a lot of experience in the computer field and repair field, but I am also a horrible tester. So with that said, of course, that's my course to determine. And the main reason I wanted to call in is really just to thank you, Professor Messer, to thank you for doing what you do. What you've done is really no one else does this, and I commend you for that.
I appreciate that. And I thank you for that. And I understand your challenge with trying to figure out which one of these certifications should you do right now. And I will tell you what I said last month, that if I'm relatively well read on the technology side, I would say. I'm not speaking out of turn, I don't think. I'm pretty familiar with the stuff that's out there. If I was in the situation that most people are in with studying for these certifications, And knowing how my life is and how much I'm possibly able to study, and the fact that in 5 months, the 900 series exams go away, me personally, that would drive me crazy knowing there was a drop dead date on July 31st. We're also in a better situation here in March than we were last month because the newer books come out next month, relatively soon. In about a month and a week, at least something will be available for us to, hopefully, to purchase on Amazon. And you combine that with the fact that really you've got 20% of the material on the 1000 series exams is new over the 900 series. You could theoretically study 900 series content until the 1000 series books came out, and you wouldn't really lose anything. You wouldn't be wasting your time, in other words. Knowing those three things, and that I hate drop dead dates and I hate people putting those types of constraints on me. If it was me, I would probably study and take the 1000 series exams at this point in time. It's more comfortable. I don't have to worry about things in my life taking a left turn and pulling me away for a little bit and me being upset that especially if you say you pass the 901 and then suddenly a project or something in your life has torn you away and you're not able to take the other exam, you've now just effectively wasted money. You haven't really wasted your knowledge. You have to now start over again with the exams, but because there's only a 20% difference, it's not like you're starting over. A lot of the content you will see in my videos is very similar between the two because not much has changed along those lines. I took out what they took out, I added things they added, and I just kept the ball rolling. So if it was me, I would absolutely take the 1000 series. Other people, and you may be in this position, you're really familiar with the content. There's some people that can sit down, they can go through the exam objectives, and they think, well, I can get through this in a week. And considering their past experience and what they've done in their jobs, maybe that's completely reasonable. And they finish up both of these exams in a month and they're on to the next thing. The 900 series makes sense for them. So it's really an individual question for each individual person. I can't tell anybody what they absolutely should do. But if you can't, this is going to be an even more interesting question next month when there are books available. I'll probably be telling everybody to abandon the 900 and go to the 1000 anyway. So that's our plus and minus for the month anyway. And I think you're probably in the same place.
I certainly am. And actually, I don't know why I put this off. It was on the back burner since the 700 series. I don't know why I've put this off so long. But things get done. You get put in the back burner, and things happen. But my concern, and I have been kind of sneaking using the 900 series as kind of my backbone for the in-depth things as well. I was kind of waiting for your book, to come out for the study guides. I really think that you should be making a book.
I have, of course, my course notes, which are not a textbook. Some people will see my course notes and think those are textbook.
We want you to do a study book, though.
I know. And people have asked me that. And you probably heard me say last month, that will never, never, never happen.
I've heard that, yes.
I won't say never, never, never. I'll just say never because I can go back on that one. If somebody showed up with a wheelbarrow full of money and said, look, you should spend your time doing this, I will say, well, of course, I was going to do that all along. But it would be something I would not enjoy. And at this point, I want to do things I like to do. I've written books in the past. It's not been the most favorite thing I've wanted to do in the world, but I can appreciate the idea of doing this. It's a logical next step. Why wouldn't I write a book? And that's why. It's just not something I think I would enjoy doing. At the end of it, I'd want to spit on it and never see it again. And nobody should do a job where that's the situation they're in. So that's probably not going to be me either. But I appreciate the thought and I appreciate the recommendation. And who knows, maybe never, never, never someday will turn into, of course I will, just not right now.
Well, thank you, and and again, I commend you for everything that you do. Keep it up. I certainly appreciate it, and I think that all of us that are a part of this do too as well.
Thank you, Danny. I appreciate that. It's very motivating. Thanks for the call.
Yep.
That's nice to hear too. It is very motivating because when I've got 10 videos waiting to be edited, probably more than that. It's probably more like 15 videos that are sitting there on the SSD waiting to be edited. I've got 9 others I need to shoot before the 1000 series is done. You wake up in the morning, You're wondering, oh, am I going to be able to? Yeah, of course I'm going to get through this. There's people waiting for this. It actually does help people. So it's nice that you know that you're going to be creating something that can help somebody get a job, get a better job, or do any of those things. Just get more knowledge in the things that they're doing right now. Do I have an app in the chat room? Do I have an app for the CompTIA 1001? I do not. I don't really plan on an app. At least I haven't at the moment. I don't know what an app would look like. Maybe a Q&A app, maybe. My videos are free on the web. You can go to YouTube. You can go to my website. You can look at them on your mobile device. I just don't have an app. I just feel like right now I want to open up and give a broad access to my content. And I just don't want to focus on iOS or focus on Android or focus on whatever it is along those lines. So that's the reason behind that. We'll go back to the phones. 612, thank you for holding for so long. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Marius, calling from the Twin Cities, Minnesota.
Very nice.
I kind of had a question that's kind of similar to his. I don't mean to sound repetitive. Sorry, I'm at work. I don't mean to sound repetitive, but my question is, I have a 902 voucher that I bought a while back, but actually I started studying for my CCENT. And my question is, would it be better for me to just say, you know what, just can the 902, focus on the CCENT, and by the time I'm done with that, maybe a month, maybe two at the most, then go back to the 1001 new series?
So have you taken any of the 900 series exams yet at all?
At all. I just, for some reason, I jumped into the 902. I got a discount on the voucher for 902, so I just jumped into that for the 901. And I don't know. I looked at the objectives for the 1001, 1002, and I feel like I'm not really a software guy. I'm kind of more of a hardware guy. And I feel like the objectives for the new one kind of fit me more. But here's my problem, too, though. At my job where I'm at right now, I have a chance to upgrade to the IT department. And I kind of got a feeling that in the next couple of months, there'll be a job opening coming up. So I'm not sure. I know for a fact that A+ gets you in the door immediately. And CCENT will, too. But I'm not sure which one I would finish first or faster. Maybe the A+ first. I'm not sure. What do you think?
I'm going to turn it around because the answer to this question is never which certification should I get. The question is always, what am I trying to do and how do I get there? And you've already got an idea in your mind that there's a possibility there's going to be an opening in the technology department in IT for a particular job posting. How can I be in the running for that particular job? That's really the question. What is it going to take? And this may be some additional recon you need to do and ask people, if you are hiring for that position today or in the past when you've hired for that position, what are the skills you've looked for? In your organization, maybe having networking knowledge is incredibly important because of the type of business that you have, the type of networks that you run, and there has to be a very strong foundation of networking for the people in the entry-level positions. Or you might be in a situation where your company outsources most of your networks, and really the focus they have in the help desk is getting people's desktops running. Every organization is different. What they're looking for in the mix of knowledge for their entry-level people is different. What they're trying to do as a company is different. So there's never one answer that says, here's the right answer without knowing any of the background knowledge. So I sort of am going to turn this around on you. And do you know what the job posting says for this particular job?
Well, the last three, okay, so they're definitely, I'll just say this, it's a government job, right? And the last couple hirings that they had, I actually got a copy from a job I'm at from the other department. I got a copy of the job description.
Great.
And I kind of looked at them and followed them around and see what they said. So it's just like I said, it's like service desk 1 and service desk 2. But all they're asking for is for entry-level positions is A+. And then the last couple of times I noticed that they said CCNT.
Aha.
So to kind of make myself stick out and, give myself a better chance at getting the position, I volunteer sometimes with just basically a place where I live at. It's called basically recycle computer parts.
Okay.
It cuts as volunteer hours.
Great.
So I did that, and I just kind of figured that by doing the CCNT, maybe I could put myself above everybody else that just has their A+. I don't know.
I think that's a pretty good strategy. I like where you're going with that because now you have this strategy of saying, I've now gotten heads down into the CCENT, which, by the way, is not an easy certification. It's very different than the A+ certification. It requires a lot of hands-on and a lot of knowledge about networking. It's a remarkably complex certification for somebody who, for an exam that's really considered entry-level into networking. But what's also interesting about this, though, is now you can use some of this practical experience you have to effectively replace, for the purposes of this job, replace any formal A+ certification. Say, yeah, I don't have my A+, but I've been doing all of this hands-on stuff with hardware. Let me tell you what I do with hardware. I think the stories behind that are going to be very valuable if you get to sit down with somebody in an interview. Make sure you have about 3 stories of things that you guys did project-wise with this hardware. But then you can say, oh, and I have all of this advanced knowledge in networking. I know how to set up a switch. I know how to set up a router. I understand what VLANs are. I can do IP subnetting. I've got this knowledge on Cisco equipment that I can bring to the table as well. That's a win-win, I think. When can I start?
Oh, but see, I didn't want to get confused. Sorry about that, but I'm not actually doing like work on Cisco equipment at the place I volunteer at.
No, but you got A+. You're replacing that with your A+. So you haven't done the A+ yet.
Oh.
You could get the A+ done before this job opens up, but even if you don't, you can kind of slide that in as a replacement and say, I don't have a formal certification, but I do have some practical experience, and here's what we've done. That kind of covers a lot of the hardware and maybe some of the software related A+.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's what I was kind of leaning toward. I was thinking that, because like I said, most of the time they posted A+, and then the last couple of times I was surprised. I was shocked that they posted the CCNT. So I was thinking maybe that'll springboard me ahead of everybody else on my resume.
They're looking for it, so you might as well give it to them. And I think you're right. If somebody's going on in an entry-level position, I think very few of them, relatively speaking, will have a CCENT versus an A+. It's a very good strategy.
Okay, thanks a lot for the time, and I appreciate your help.
I appreciate the call. Best of luck. Let us know how that goes.
Thank you.
Another thing about that is you're walking into this interview and you've done something. You've actually got great stories to tell. And don't dismiss that value. If you can sit in an interview and somebody is going to ask, well, tell us about that job, but tell us about this on your resume. Usually they start at the top and they go, oh, you've done this volunteer work and doing this hardware. What's that about? Well, you got some great stories to tell. You could spend 15 minutes of your interview just talking about what you did there. The more you're talking and telling stories, the better off you're going to be. Instead of having the interviewer across the table ask, tell me what you know about CPUs. Tell me what you know about network cards. Tell me what you know about Windows 10. Instead, you can tell some stories that actually have that content in them, and they don't have to ask those questions. They can see practically the things you've done with it. Let's go to the 409 area code. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello, I'm Cody. I'm in the Twin Cities as well, actually.
See, everybody's calling from Minnesota.
So my question is kind of on the cloud services.
Okay.
I'm a little bit confused on what benefit using a software as a service compared to a platform as a service. Like, what are those benefits for a company or an enterprise to use either of the two?
Well, let's see if you've used either of these in the past. Do you have any services you use that is software as a service?
Not that I know of. I used VDI, which is what we were talking about earlier, with KVM switches in my previous job.
Okay.
Not.
How about
not either of the others?
Do you use Google Mail?
Yeah.
You're a software as a service customer right there. So that's a very good description of software as a service. So you log into your mail, the mail's waiting in your inbox, you can send some messages to other people. So how many options does Google give you for modifying the layout of those screens in your Google Mail?
Personalization.
So they change the colors, maybe.
What you want it to look like. Yeah, that's about it.
What if you wanted to change it so that every time a mail was received, that it would fire off a bunch of other processes, create an invoice, send a quote. It added someone's name to a contact list automatically, and then would send you a text message. Does that happen in Google Mail?
No.
It does not. I use Google Mail too. I wish it did. In fact, it doesn't even give you the option to do that. You don't even have the ability to tell Google Mail or customize Google Mail in any way that would allow it to do that. Because it's software as a service. Here's what they provide. Here's the software. You get to use it however we provide it to you. And really the only customization is what colors and maybe some background stuff you can put in there. That's effectively it, because that's what Google Mail is designed to be. And for the most part, we're all happy with that. We're not paying anything for it. So that's a pretty good trade-off, I think. Google Mail by itself, for what it does, for those functionalities, is exactly what we want. But what if you were a company that wanted to create a front end that end users could email, and as soon as that email was hit, that it could open up, and maybe you're selling something and people are sending questions about, I'd like to buy your product. Suddenly it adds a contact list for that person and creates that automatically. And it evaluated their zip code, or evaluated their email address or their IP address, and found out what part of the country they're from, and assigned that to a particular person to call back. And that was responsible for that territory. And at the same time, it created a set of standardized email messages that you could send back to the person, that maybe sent one every day to keep them updated with what you're doing along their project. That would be nice to do, except nobody really wants to program that from scratch. But most of those functionalities have already been created by people. And a good example of that is folks at Salesforce.com. There's a good example. Salesforce.com has a software as a service product, but where Salesforce.com has really made their place is that they create a bunch of building blocks. Software as a service is just Legos. That's all it is. They've created a bunch of Legos that you put together however you would like. Here's a Lego for a login screen. Here's a Lego for managing incoming emails. Here's a Lego for building out an automated contact list. Here's a Lego for creating emails that go out every day to inform people of a product. And all you have to do as the end user is snap the Legos together however it is that you like to work. Another company down the street may not accept emails for these types of things. Maybe it's only phone calls. So instead of using the email Lego, that company is going to use the phone call Lego. And everything else is going to be effectively the same because they snap them together in a similar way. That way you aren't building any type of code from scratch. In some cases, you don't even have to be really a programmer. All you have to do is take the Legos that they've created, the building blocks, and snap those building blocks together. That's the platform as the service. They've given you the platform. You now build the Lego house on top of it, and now you have all of the software ready to go that's customized for your particular organization. Those are the two big differences. It really revolves around zero customization versus a very flexible customization based on a very modular environment.
Okay. So, obviously the cost would go into that. One other question I had, just to kind of touch on the platform as a service.
Sure.
Is there a need to have someone maintain that and provide like further customizations, or is it one of the things you put in place and as long as you don't want to make changes, it's set?
Well, it's like any other application development process. The responsibilities for platform as a service are a bit divided. The responsibility for having the platform available, having it on the internet, having it available for you to log in and use are the responsible of the platform as a service provider. The responsibility for making sure the application works, that it is up to date. Maybe the beginning of the year, they change all the tax codes. So you're going to have to change all your application. That's up to you. You're responsible for building out the application. You're by using their modules. So there's usually application developers on your side that are managing that piece of platform as a service.
Awesome. Thank you. I think that cleared up everything. That helps my understanding of all the cloud-based services.
Great. Cody, thanks for calling.
All right. Have a great day.
It's one where those are the two things of all of the different services, the platform as a service, software as a service, infrastructure as a service, it's that platform as a service that we always have a problem getting the wrapped around that one because it's so different than anything else we may have ever used before. A lot of us have never used the Salesforce.com with all of its different modules. But there's plenty of videos out on YouTube that talk about people putting together their own apps on Salesforce.com. So now other people will tell me, but wait, Salesforce.com is software as a service. They do have a software as a service offering, similar, like they have a Salesforce.com offering in that same vein that Google has a Google Mail offering. But as I mentioned, the mass part of the big draw of Salesforce.com is that modularity and the platform as a service that they have. It's really where they've made their money and their place in the cloud-based services. They do exceptionally well. 727 area code. Thanks for calling. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Oh, I hear myself. You may want to turn that down a little bit and listen to the phone or your headset.
Hello?
Hey, thanks for calling. What's your name? Where are you calling from? I see. Well, you may want to turn that off there. Give you a chance to do that. Well, it's worth a shot anyway, but it was a nice try. We'll have to give that another shot there from the 727 area code. Let's go back to the messages in the chat room real quick before we go through these others. Trying to find the video today I mentioned today regarding the Amazon. So as a lot of you saw today in the first hour, I talked about demonstrating the VDI function from Amazon with the Amazon workspaces. This is what I was talked about. And I talked about having the video that demonstrated, which was in my 220-1001 video, section 4.1 cloud services. I shot that video yesterday. So that video has not been edited yet. It's in the can. It's ready to go. I don't have to turn on the lights and record it. It's already been recorded, which is the hardest. Well, it's really the easiest part of this whole thing, but it's the hardest part when you're in the middle of doing all of them. Is just getting them out fast enough, because that's the most structured part of this. The actual building of the content is the thing that takes the most amount of time. It takes months to build a course of me sitting here every day, Monday through Monday, 7 days a week, and just building out the course takes months of time. The production process of shooting the videos is relatively rote, but it just takes time. It's very time consuming from a technical perspective. You know, when you're writing the content, I've got a hat on and a t-shirt and, writing. It's very casual. But when I'm shooting video, there's a lot of things that have to be done in the room. The lighting and the camera, everything has to be just so. We've tested the audio. We've got disk space to store all the video on. It's a different process. And I shot it yesterday. So it's just a matter of now getting to that edit process. I edited 2 or 3 videos yesterday. They've been uploaded to YouTube, but not released yet. So there's always, all of the videos are in a section of the process. But that's just not the one that I've released yet. And it's pretty well in the queue. Well, I'll tell you how far down it is in the queue. If I look at the videos that have been shot, I am currently through editing as we sit here today. Which one did I just do? I think I just did I just did custom PCs. So I have 3 that are ready to be released. I have 1 to 11 that are due to be edited before I finish up section 3. There are 3 videos in section 4, and it's the second one of those. So I have about 12 or 13 or 14 videos before I get to that one. So it's pretty far down in the queue. I got a lot in the queue. So I need to churn through those and get some out of that queue so that I can get them out to you. So that's sort of where we are. For the people wondering, what's going on? Are you just sitting around? Is nothing happening? No. There are things happening. I promise you. We just gotta get there. But that gives you some idea into what's happening on this side of the world, is that I've got all these videos that are on the SSD ready to be edited. Just haven't done it yet, but I'm getting there. I promise. We're going to try the 727 again. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello.
Hi, what's your name?
Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you? Oh, you.
Well, it's worth a shot anyway. But it didn't work out. Sorry, it did not. Other questions in here. I mentioned those A+ books will be out next month that I saw on Amazon. I didn't know. I just really, Lori went out to Amazon. My marketing manager went out to Amazon and just listed out all of the available books and when their release dates would be. So I'm hoping that we will see some next month. I know that those dates are relatively fluid. You're never quite sure exactly when those dates are going to hit, but I think they're probably pretty close for those pieces. Question in the chat room, can you buy CompTIA books from the African server? I have no idea. I'm not associated with CompTIA. I have no professional association with them. I know people that are there. I've talked to people at CompTIA before, but I don't have any formal, I'm not a CompTIA partner. I'm not in that particular world. So I have no idea. It would be worth a call or an email to CompTIA to find out. Just go directly to the source. They'll be able to tell you. I think that'd be a good place to go to have that functionality. Whenever I start trying to break down what CompTIA has in available area, I almost always recommend talking to CompTIA directly. Even if they don't know initially, they can find the person in CompTIA that does know and get those things done. Because they actually do have books available right now. Their books are I think they were available the first day. So I haven't seen their books. I'm not familiar with their books. I don't know the value of the books. I know if they're good or bad. I don't know. They're probably pretty good. But it's a CompTIA book. But I've just never seen it. So I can't speak to it. I'm not on the inside, so I don't get to see them. I'd have to buy it myself. But I don't need their book. So I guess I don't. I need to work on that. Let's go back to the phones. The 778 area code. Hello, caller. Which name are you calling from?
Officer, it's very nice to hear your voice live and get connected with you. I'm calling from Canada, Victoria, BC.
Very nice. What can we do for you?
Where we eat. I'm just calling to say thank you so much. I failed my first try on 901, and I am getting back into it. I was just 2% away from my exam, so I'm trying hard and getting the exam this time. I'm motivated to go hard and do my best in the exam. Do you have any tips or I don't know if I use the right term, if I say tricks to pass the test next time when I do it on my second try?
I do. I have a couple of things you can try that are both, I think they count as both tips and tricks. We can go with that. You were very close at passing the exam. So already I feel pretty good about your next time through. I will, and this is sort of applies to everybody, when you finish taking the exam, they print out a paper, whether you pass it or not, they print out this paper that gives you the results on the exam. Did you get a copy of that paper before leaving the testing center?
So I was well aware of the paper, and I remember you have talked in one of the study group that we should get the paper from them, and I was waiting, and I asked the couple of people if there's a copy of the result.
Uh-oh. Did we lose you?
Okay, I was going to say I called right away to the CompTIA center, but I couldn't get through to them at that point. So I was out of luck in that point. I decided to come home and get connected with the center, which I couldn't do that either.
This is sort of the challenge, is that piece of paper that they give you at the end of the exam is an exam results page that says you either passed or you didn't pass. But whether you passed or not, it lists out the sections of the exam that you got wrong by objective. It doesn't give you the exact question, but it tells you you missed a question from section 2.1 or from section 3.4, and they give you the description of that section that you missed. That it's unfortunate you were not able to get that piece of paper. And as you found, once you leave the building, you're not going to get that paper. You can't call CompTIA. They don't have it. Pearson VUE has it, and they're not going to give it to you because you're not standing in front of them. You have to stand there in the building, and if they are having a problem, you have to have them call their support line at Pearson VUE and have them make it so that you can print out that page and give it to you. Once you leave the building, it's incredibly difficult. I've actually not yet heard anyone manage to get the piece of paper after the fact. If any of you have, if anybody hearing this has had that happen and they managed to get the paper after the fact, I would love to hear your story. I've not heard one yet. But that's not a deal breaker. I would bet on the exam there were certain topics that you perhaps looked at those questions and maybe were not 100% sure on. Did you happen to take any notes after the fact, or do you happen to remember what some of those topics were?
Yeah, basically it's mostly networking areas where I'm remembering all the codes, and I remember I was thrown away by the question was to set up IPv6.
Well, we don't want to give away too much on the exam because you do it. You signed your candidate agreement, said you wouldn't give too much information about the exam, but at least you have an idea. There were things on the exam you saw that maybe gave you a little bit of pause so that you realize, okay, we could spend more time studying some of the networking pieces. So already we know a place that we might be able to get some extra points from. But keep in mind, of course, and many people maybe don't realize this, is that the exam itself is different every time. If you take the exam again, it's not going to be the same exam. They have a big pool of questions, and you might see some of the questions that are duplicated between the two just because there's a chance you will randomly get a duplicate question. But you're probably not, you're definitely not going to get the same exam. You're probably going to see a bunch of brand new questions on the exam. However, the structure, the percentage of weight of questions that you get on the exam stays the same. So if you feel like you didn't do well on the networking before, that's an opportunity to spend working on the networking now. The other thing that I would recommend as a tip or a trick is to go back to the exam objectives. The objectives make a fantastic checklist, and you can now go through every single topic on the exam objectives and determine, am I comfortable with this topic? Could I explain this topic to someone else, or can I not? That's the place you should go to figure out, is this something that I'm knowledgeable enough that I could explain it? And if you can't, maybe that's your opportunity to mark and say, I need to learn more about that topic. That might be the best way to go about really knowing if you're ready to take the exam again.
Right. Yeah, Professor, before I let you go, just one more question. Is it true that I could, prior to the exam, could set up, if I have difficulty with language or the reading skills aren't as good, I could buy more time in the exam? Is that true?
There is a opportunity, and you need to contact CompTIA directly for this, that if you are in a particular country where you're taking the exam, maybe English isn't your first language, maybe you have a visual of problem seeing, maybe there are other physical or other things that would cause you to need more time on your exam. CompTIA does have a process for this, but you have to call them directly and ask them about getting additional time on the exam for that particular issue. And if it falls into that category of things they're looking for, they have ways to allocate that properly so that when you go into the exam, you're allocated the proper amount of time for whatever it is that they've worked on with you. But you have to call them directly.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a very good tip. Yeah. So thank you so much, and keep up the good work. And we've been benefiting all this work freely and you've been very blessed by the knowledge in this trade. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful day.
I appreciate it. You too. That's nice to hear. That's very motivational. I know that there are, this doesn't necessarily apply outside the United States, but it probably is the same in North America, is the Americans with Disabilities Act. I think they probably have a similar scenario, if not use the same criteria in Canada as well. Plus, there are other options, language accommodations they can make. So that may be where you can focus on with your calls to CompTIA. That's where I would recommend doing anyway. What CompTIA 1001 book do I recommend? Well, there aren't any out yet, so I haven't seen any. So I'm hoping there will be some soon, and we can at least look at them. And at that point, if there's a nice book out there and we like it, I'll stick it on my website, my list of recommended books, recommended study materials. I think it's valuable to have a good book. I think it's valuable actually to have multiple books. And obviously, it doesn't work out for everybody to have multiple A+ books, but that helped me whenever I was working on my A+ for the first time. But if I had to pick one book, there isn't one out that I've been able to read yet. I understand CompTIA has them out yet, but I don't have them. So that's one of those challenges. Back to the phones real quick. 616 area code. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Oh.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Sam. I'm calling from Michigan.
Welcome, Sam. What can we do for you today?
I again want to send my praise your way. I think it's more than necessary for anybody calling in, first of all. But
I
again,
appreciate
really
that.
It.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No problem. No problem. Thank you, Professor. So my couple questions. I just actually purchased and received the A+ 220, 1001, 1002, and Network Plus. It is the exam N10-007 study guides from CompTIA. Now, are those different than the textbooks you're talking about that you're looking for on Amazon? Is that just a supplement for a study guide rather than like the actual textbook? No,
I think CompTIA is the only publisher currently that has what I call textbooks available for the 1001 and 1002. There's plenty of options out there for the Network Plus N10-007 at this point. It takes about 3 or 4 months after the release of an exam series to finally see some of the books from the big publishers finally hit Amazon. So we'll start to see those next month.
Okay. And then just off the last question, you were talking about some other books. I'm assuming Pearson has a published book that they'll have coming out.
In fact, the list of publishers, I'll tell you exactly who it is since I have the sheet.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
I went through, or Lori went through Amazon and went through all of their A+ books. And there are publishers, McGraw-Hill, Cybex, and Pearson will have books out between April and May. So you'll start to see them.
Spell that second one for me, actually, if you don't mind.
No, sure. It's
I'm sorry.
McGraw-Hill Cybex, Sybex, is Cybex and Pearson.
I have never heard of.
Cybex has some great books. The McGraw-Hill books are the ones most people are familiar with. Mike Myers. McGraw-Hill has the Mike Myers books. Cybex has the Quentin Doctor and the Troy McMillan books, and Pearson has the Cheryl Schmidt books, along with Rick McDonald as well. So those are the big players in the textbook arena. The first couple of Mike Myers books will be released in the April 10th, April 16th timeframe. The Cybex books come out April 23rd, and then the others come after that.
Beautiful. I really appreciate it again. Thank you so much for all your time that you put into this project and all these projects. Really appreciate it, especially as a teacher for English as a second language, coming into technology now after I've built a few computers and helped my family with computer issues and have always been kind of a closet techie. So I really appreciate it again. Thank you so much.
Thanks. I appreciate the call, Sam.
Take care.
That's great to hear, and I appreciate it. I'm glad that what we're doing here with these videos, people are able to take advantage of them. And as long as you keep watching, I will keep making them. It's when you stop watching them, I probably won't make as many. That day hopefully will not come. We'll go to 661 area code. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yes, is Professor Messer?
It's me. Who is this?
Sorry, this is Jason from North Carolina.
Hey, Jason. Thanks for calling. What can we do for you?
I got two things for you. One, to say thank you very much. I took my 901 on Friday, passed it with an 808.
Nice.
All thanks to you and your course notes and videos. I want to appreciate you for all you've done.
Good score. Congratulations.
Number two, though, is my actual question, though, is so now that I've took the 901 and I clearly only have a few more months before I can get the 902 taken care of, where would you jump in at? What would you be the first thing that you would do to just tackle this 902?
I would first get my hands on Windows 7, Windows 8, and Windows 10, which means I would first probably go out to modern.ie, modern.ie. That is the website that Microsoft keeps for their developers. There's a tools pull-down menu on that site. I'm going to show this on my screen at modern.ie. Actually redirects to one of the Microsoft developer sites. There's a tools pull-down menu that has virtual machines, and you can download Windows 7, Windows 8.1, and Windows 10 for free in a virtual machine form on the Microsoft website, no cost. The end user license agreement means that is set up so that you cannot use these for production use. They can't be your desktop. You can't use these to do anything in production. They're designed for a lab, which, by the way, is exactly what we need when we're studying for these exams. So I would first tell people, go get those operating systems, become familiar with what's happening inside of Windows 7, Windows 8, and Windows 10. There's going to be a lot of that on the exam. It obviously won't be able to install these operating systems using these pre-built virtual machines, but to be fair, the installation process of all three of those is almost identical, and you can watch any of my videos, and I will have one also for Windows 10 when the 2002 videos are done. You can watch through one of those installation videos and you're covered. You've got it. It's pretty straightforward. The other thing that this will allow you to do, though, is not only see what the differences are between these, but just how similar they are. And I think a lot of people are worried that now Windows 10 is on the exam. There's going to be a lot more content. Windows 10 is the same as Windows 7, quite honestly. There's not a lot different between them, minor UI tweaks, but the underlying operating system and troubleshooting the underlying operating system is almost identical between all three of these. So that's what I would do, is go get your hands on this. I always say you need four things for your exam. You need a good book, you need some videos to watch, you need plenty of Q&A, you need plenty of hands-on. This would cover the hands-on piece. And a lot of people don't have access to these operating systems or have never run them before. This is an absolutely free way to do it. Why wouldn't you?
Right. Well, I appreciate it, and I will definitely look into those. And just, good shout out for you. Just enjoy your work. Continue it. You're awesome.
You got 5 months, Jason, so go tackle that one. Best of luck.
Will do. All right, bye.
Yep, that's the clock is ticking. But 5 months is a good amount of time. To pass one exam in 5 months, and you've already gotten through the 901, you're going to be fine. You have plenty of time to be able to do that. Let's see. Next call. Let's go back to the calls. I got another call here. 240 area code. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Kenny calling from Silver Spring, Maryland.
Hey, welcome, Kenny. What can we do for you?
Yeah, I have been using the GTS Learning ebook to study for the 900 series, back to 901. And I was checking online, see we're coming up on 1000 series.
Right.
And I noticed it seems like they merged with CompTIA or the company got dissolved. Is that true?
GTS Learning the beginning of last year, it's been almost a year now, CompTIA purchased GTS Learning. So yes, GTS Learning as an entity no longer exists. They now are CompTIA.
Oh, wow. So that means that they won't make no ebooks for 1000 without the 160 that were brought up by CompTIA A+.
From what I understand, the people at GTS Learning are now, at least back a year ago when I was talking to them, they're now CompTIA employees. So it's my understanding, I might be wrong, I haven't seen the books yet, so I don't know. If I was to read their 1001 and 1002 books, I bet I would be able to see if that was their end user product. But at that time, last year, CompTIA bought a number of different providers, content creators. So they bought 2 or 3 different companies that had content like this. So I'm not sure what their final book ended up looking like or who wrote it. And maybe somebody, if they have the 1001 and 1002 from CompTIA, can tell me if they put author names in there, and I could tell you if I recognize any of those names. But as it is now, GTS Learning, if you go to gtslearning.com, you're just going to get redirected over to CompTIA's site because that's effectively what it is now. And there's not a GTS Learning book that you can pull from. It's now just CompTIA's books, and I'm not sure who wrote them.
Right. Oh, that's too bad.
It's too bad.
I really enjoyed your videos that merge with the 901 series now.
I like working with them too. It's things change in this industry all the time. There's the only thing that you can ever be sure of in this industry is that it's going to change completely overnight sometimes. And that was one of those changes where now I'd worked with them for maybe 5 or 6 years, great people to work with. It was a great partnership. It was kind of sad to see the change, but that's one of those things like, well, that's what's going to happen in this industry. And I think it worked out well for the people that were involved. So who am I to say? Good for them.
Good. Oh, that's good. That's good. Well, I guess I've got the 5 other books down. 1,000 series now started.
That's why I put together, or that's why Lori put together that spreadsheet for us, so I could see exactly when these third-party books are going to be released. I know CompTIA has their books now. You can look April 10th, April 16th, and April 23rd on Amazon, and we'll see if those books are finally available. Maybe they'll move up the dates. Maybe they'll change them. I'll keep an eye on them. But right now, that's sort of the situation we're in. We're in that waiting game, waiting for more content. And it's kind of a normal thing when you have the release of these new exams.
Yeah, because I'm contemplating, should I risk it, try to take 902 series before the expired date in the summer? Or should I wait till the 1002 books come out, and that's not till April? And so I kind of contemplate what to do. So, as a time constraint, so...
Well, it's March now. These books are going to be out in a month. And at that point, the book is available and you can run with it. There will certainly be a chunk of my newest videos out by then. So I think at this time next month, we're all going to be in a little better shape. But you're right. It's that measurement right now. If it was me, I mentioned earlier, I would not be taking the 900 series because I can't trust myself to get it done in time. But if you're somebody who's really knowledgeable this stuff, it may be very easy for you to do this. Or like the last caller, he's got 5 months to finish one exam. If you're in that situation, it's a pretty easy one.
Well, I haven't took the first one, so
yep.
That's why the company said, I don't know. Maybe I should wait till
here's what I would recommend you do, because the exams are so similar. We're all thinking, oh, the newer exam, it's all brand new, it's shiny. It's only 20% different. It's not like the computers are so dramatically different than they were 3 years ago. The only dramatic different change is Windows 10 is on there. And quite honestly, if you used Windows 7, you probably won't even recognize you're using a new operating system until you look closely and go, oh, wait, this is a little different. Everything else is the same. Hardware is effectively the same. In fact, on the 1000 series, they added back PATA. They added back SCSI, which was not in the 900 series. So in some cases, they're sort of adding back some of these older technologies that we're still seeing in the data center that people are saying, wait, we've still got servers running these things. People need to be aware of these technologies. If you were to read the 900 series book and then when the 1000 series book came out, switch to that, you'd be doing fine, because most of that content you would have already gone through in the 900 series. I think you'd be take what's available now, go with that, and I think you'll be fine in a month.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Professor. Thank you for the advice. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Kenny. Best of luck.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
There's a challenge with timing, isn't there? I'm not good on drop dead dates. I'm not good on deadlines. I don't like being in that situation. So I think that's probably my personal aversion to taking the 900 series right now, is I just don't like the drop dead date. But like the last couple of callers ago who said, I've got 5 months to finish one exam. If you're in that situation, I'd probably be fine with that too. That one's not so bad. You're not up against the wall. I will tell you, people will be taking those 900 series exams on the last day, on July 31st. I guarantee it happens every time. So if you're one of those people, like you're going right up against the wall, you're not alone. There's a lot of people doing that. So don't worry about that so much. To the 202 area code. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Professor. I'm JR from DC.
Welcome, JR. What can we do for you?
Man, I love your shows. I knew nothing about computers, and I'm starting from scratch. I've been following you and learning a lot. And here I am in that same conundrum of everybody else. They're switching over, and I didn't even get in to get the test done on the 9 series.
Right.
I think I don't know what I'm going to do now. So I think I'm going to just continue on studying and then make a switch to the next one.
I think you're doing the right thing. And like I told the last caller, when Kenny was talking about it, I was thinking I would just keep reading the 900 stuff right now until that 1000 book comes out, because it comes out next month. It's not like we have to wait forever to get our hands on that 1000 series material. If you were to put those exam objectives side by side, you would think you were reading the same document. It was one of the easiest courses I ever had to put together because only 20% of the course was brand new. And in some cases, part of that 20% was being filled in with Network Plus and the older A+ content. Now, I go through all of my videos and I update all of them with sort of a newer style and how I think things might be better. So it's not a copy-paste for me, but a lot of the content was so similar that it made it very easy for me. I think if you read a 900 series book today and just waited for the 1000 series book to come out and switched in middle of the stream, you'd be fine. And you'd look at the 2 books and wonder, well, there's not a huge difference here. You'd already be way ahead of the game. In fact, you might feel better about taking the 1000 series because you already learned the 900 series stuff. I think it's just a little bit easier. If I were you, I'd just keep going with what you got, shift it to the 1000 series next month. You're going to be in good shape.
That's great. Thank you so much. You're awesome. And I'm going to keep watching you. Thank you.
Thanks, JR. Good luck. That's what you have to worry about, is just time. There have been people that have come to my site. They have spent a week on the 901 and passed it. They spent a week on the 902 and passed it. It took them 2 weeks. I wish I could do certification tests like that, but I cannot. But they were already very familiar with the core content. And I think that's the real key. If you're somebody just starting into technology, this is your first certification exam. You don't have a technical position right now. You don't have a technical job. You're just trying to get into the industry and do things. I'd really wait right now. The A+ exam is not incredibly deep. It's deeper than it used to be, but it's not incredibly deep, but it is so broad. There are so many new topics and new concepts that if you've never touched them before, is so foreign that it takes a while to seep in and really get into your brain. And that's the real challenge. You're going to networking, you're dealing with security, you're dealing with mobile devices on top of Windows, command line Linux, Mac OS. That's a lot of content in 5 months. I really think the 1000 series exams, I rarely say this, to tell people, yeah, absolutely go to the 1000, but timing wise, it just seems to make more sense to go with the 1000 right now. And I think you've got some advantages by waiting just a month to get that better book to go along with it. It just makes sense. Let's go to 248. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello, my name is Ryan. I'm from Michigan. I just want to say, Professor Messer, that I checked out your channel from a recommendation. I'm doing this VOTech or technical campus class that allows me to pretty much, it's computer networking, but it's just a CompTIA courses where we can get free tries. Like every first try we have, we can get a free chance on taking our exams.
Wow, nice.
And yeah, it's really impressive. And I just want to say that right now I've finished with the 9th series book. I'm going to be our teacher. I'm going to be taking the test for chapter 20, and I'm just then after that I'll be pre-testing for my 901.
Fantastic. And now you're in pretty good shape. You're kind of where the last caller was. You get through the 901, you got 5 months to get through the 902, and you'd be A+ certified. So I think time-wise, you are on the right track. You're one of those folks where I'd say, yeah, keep going with the 900. You're in good shape. Your timing is good. I think you're going to be fine to get done well before July 31st.
Would you say that my goal is that, would you say as like, I'll keep it real, I'm a high schooler doing this. Would you say I would be able, like the next year, I want to have a goal of reaching all 3 books, networking and security plus. And as it stands right now, would you say this will be a good track for a high schooler trying to enter into the cybersecurity or IT security field?
I think it's not a bad start. One of the challenges you're going to run into with anything dealing with IT security, or what they're sort of calling cybersecurity these days, although that has sort of a broader connotation, is that there's not a lot of entry-level positions into security. That most of the time in these organizations, to get into IT security, you've gone through networking to get there. This comes up, and I see it mentioned online, but it's not mentioned enough. And I'm specifically talking as someone who was a senior systems engineer for a next generation firewall company. I got to talk to a lot of different companies and see a lot of different companies throughout the time that I worked there. Almost everybody in security went through networking or had a very, very strong foundation in networking. And I think that's one of the best things you can do, is to get that foundation first. And what you're going to find is dealing with SIMs, firewalls, VPNs, implementing these into the edge of the network, interacting or integrating with your existing routing or switching infrastructure. All of the things that I just mentioned are effectively networking tasks. So unless you understand networking and really understand how to work with the other parts of the network, you're not going to be able to do a very good job in security. And I think that's why I see that in cybersecurity. So what I would say is temper your number of certifications with what you're trying to accomplish. And if there's a particular company in your area that you're interested in, or just take a look at the different companies in your area, see what they're hiring for their entry-level help desk positions. That's where most of these companies will start people out. Are they asking for A+? Are they asking for Network Plus? Are they asking for Security Plus? I would not think most of them would ask for Security Plus, but maybe they are. And I think that should be your barometer. That should help you figure out, how should I build the path to get to this direction? It's going to take some research for you to figure out what employers are looking for. You may find that employers are looking for Cisco certifications before they're even looking for Security Plus, so maybe that will change what direction you go. There's no single path for everyone. Different companies ask for different things. Different geographies of the country or the world are looking for different skills. So that's going to change depending on where you are as well. So I would recommend you turn the mirror back the other direction and say, what do they want? That's really what I should be working towards. And maybe that would give you a better idea where to focus on first.
I see what you mean. I would definitely agree with you on this point. But in a way, I'm going to try my best at least to get all 3, because any certification or any certification test or any certs, the first time, every time, it's free for me. So I'm going to try to take that opportunity while I'm still in high school.
I don't blame you. That in itself is plenty of reason. And by the way, I didn't even mention the best reason for getting certified, which is you actually learn something from it. And that's the one thing that we often dismiss, as it's not even in the equation. We're so focused on the job and what we want to do. When you finish going through a certification, you are much more knowledgeable on that topic than you were beforehand. There is absolutely value there. Whether you get a job doing it or not, you know it's going to help you no matter what you do in the future.
Wow, that's really interesting. And I've just been, for the past month or so, I've been watching your videos on your 901 series, and I really want to make sure I would at least pass. I want to be past my 901 and 902, and I'm just really excited. I've never really been on stream before.
It's a great foundation for you to have. I think it can only help you going forward, no matter where you go at this point. I have a feeling your future goals and your direction is going to go somewhere in that technology arena, and I think it should, if this is your interest now at this point in your life. I was kind of in the same situation when I was in high school,
personal computers were a brand new thing. I was very interested in learning at that time CP/M and finally DOS as I was getting into that section of learning those things in high school. I didn't know what was available out in the world for technology, but I know I wanted to do it. So I wanted to learn as much as I could as soon as I could. And I think that can only help you going forward.
Wow. All right. That was really inspiring. I'm glad I was able to talk to you, Professor Messer. I really appreciate that. And this is really encouraging words, but I really thank you for telling me what to look forward to.
Best of luck, Ryan.
I'll leave it on to the next caller. Thank you. Best of luck to you, Professor Messer. I'll leave it on to the next caller.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the call. What a good position to be in, though. And that's where I think we all sort of, if you're someone who's interested in technology, you sort of get it in high school. It's more than just how to use, at this point, we've got mobile phones, how to use the mobile phone, but you want to open it up. You want to see what's inside of it. You want to see what's happening with the guts. What does that thing do? Why is there a fan here? What does that chip do? How does this all work together? There's a broader scope. And if you're somebody who's really interested in that, there is absolutely a job for you out there. You can make an entire, very comfortable career in technology, one that pays extremely well, one that is constantly growing, one that you will never hit the limit of what that particular field provides to you. I can only express to people how fortunate you are to be in that position, to learn about technology that way. It is a remarkable field to be in. And its limit is only limited by what you apply to it. It really has an amazing growth. Well, that brings us to the end of well over 2 hours of our study group today. I want to thank you for being here. We've got another study group Thursday. So if you like this one, come back in 2 days. We've got the 220-1002 study group to go through. We've got more A+, plenty of A+. Of course, we've got the study groups a week from tomorrow is Network Plus. The week after that, Security Plus. You can always check the calendar on the website for when the next live event is going to be. Thank you for being here for this one. We managed to keep everything up and running, even with all these crazy changes I put in place. Thank you for dealing with all of those and being here through all of that. I look forward to seeing you on Thursday. Stop back by, and thank you for being here for this one. We'll see you next time on the A+ Study Group.